Buses couldn't come in to save the 200,000 people who had been desperately trying to get out.
Fox's Benjamin Hall in the capital, Kyiv.
Indiscriminate shelling continued across the country in numerous towns and cities, hitting not only civilian districts, but also aiming now at airfields, pipelines, communication towers.
The UN has just updated the numbers on the refugee exodus out of Ukraine. It's now 1.7 million who fled, many going to Poland. Fox's Simon Owens live at a village on the border.
And Dave, every day, thousands of people arrive at a warehouse here that's being used as a makeshift shelter just across the border from Ukraine. Darina has come from Kherson, the first major city to be captured by Russian forces.
Here I'm alone, and like every time I worry about my family because there now is no connection, no internet, so you can't call, you can't know anything.
The shelter offers water, hot food as the snow falls outside, and buses are running to take people onto their next stop. But it's busy, and many travelers face long waits. Dave.
Simon, Secretary of State Antony Blinken's in Lithuania, a NATO ally, warning Russia again.
We, the United States, all of our allies and partners, will take action to defend every inch of NATO territory.
Russia's being punished with sanctions, and the U.S. is considering banning Russian oil imports as the price of oil surges again. Gas is up another 6 cents today. It has spiked 45 cents since Tuesday, near an all-time high, according to AAA. America's listening to Fox News.
Run, walk, honor. The Tunnel to Towers 5K Run and Walk in New York City retraces FDNY firefighter Stephen Siller's final footsteps on 9/11. That single event has inspired more than 70 runs, walks, and climbs in different cities across the nation each year. Register for an event in your area or volunteer to start one. Do good and never forget by donating $11 a month at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Is your current home loan the right fit for you? Near historic low rates may be a great reason to refinance, but when matched with an expertly chosen loan from Loan Depot, you could be saving money and paying more towards the bottom line. Call a Loan Depot loan officer and ask about our 27-year Smart Term loan or our 10-year ARM loan. Get a great rate matched with a great loan by calling 866-888-LOAN or visit LoanDepot.com. At Loan Depot, home means everything. Rates are subject to change. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing opportunity. NMLS number 174457. Licensed in all 50 states.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Andy Humphrey on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:03. Robinson saves you time. Currently 31 degrees. Expect cloudy skies today with a high of 36. Good morning, I'm Andy Humphrey. Police say a third teenager has been detained by Illinois authorities for his alleged involvement in a February homicide in Northeast Columbia. The 16-year-old boy is charged as a juvenile and is in custody in Peoria. 15-year-old Aubrey Doxley was shot to death on February 19th. Her mother says Aubrey was lying in bed at home when shots came through the window and killed her. Officers have already detained 2 other 16-year-old suspects in the case. One person is hospitalized and another is arrested after a shooting in a South Columbia neighborhood. ABC 17 reports it happened on Poplar Hill Drive near Old Plank Road Saturday afternoon. Witnesses say a man went to grab his dog from his front yard. Then someone from across the street shot at the man and hit him in the back. Police say the victim was taken to the hospital and is stable. They also arrested one person after the shooting. The brother of a prominent mid-Missouri snake breeder was one of several people featured in an NBC Dateline episode last Friday. Sam Rennick says he was frustrated that Lindley Rennick of Columbia received only a 16-year prison sentence for murdering his brother. Ben Rennick was shot to death in his Montgomery County snake facility in 2017. Lindley Rennick continues to maintain her innocence. She testified that Michael Humphrey of Jefferson City shot and killed her husband. Humphrey was a key prosecution witness at Lindley Rennick's December trial. A Jefferson City man draws an 8-year prison term for a violent robbery.
Tariq Shelton pleads guilty to attempted first-degree robbery. That after prosecutors reduced the charge from first-degree robbery. He was arrested in January of 2020 after being accused of being one of 4 people who robbed a person in the 100 block of Ventura in Jefferson City. John Marsh, 93.9 The Eagle.
A plan to bring back school resource officers to Columbia's 3 public high schools will be on the agenda for the City Council tonight. Members will vote whether to approve a plan that would assign 4 officers to the schools. The district hasn't had school resource officers since 2020 when its contract with the city expired due to financial reasons. The City Council will also discuss new ward boundaries tonight. Transparency is a top priority for Missouri's new acting health director, who is from Fulton. Paula Nicholson has worked for the State Department of Health and Senior services for more than 22 years.
I will personally attest to you that we give you the very best information we have at any given time. It may change, but we're going to continue to give the very best information we can at any time, and we're going to continue to communicate openly.
Nicholson has been appointed by Governor Parson, who describes her as a reliable, calming, and realistic leader. She does not have to be confirmed by the Missouri Senate as acting director. The former director, Donald Karoff, resigned from the position last month after the Senate did not confirm him. 93.9 The Eagle News with AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning, ensuring the air in which you live and breathe is comfortable and clean. For all of your heating needs, log on to AIRESERV.com. It's 6:06. Mizzou men's basketball finished the regular season with a win Saturday. The Tigers beat out Georgia 79-69 at Mizzou Arena thanks to 21 points from Kobe Brown. Mizzou's lone senior Javon Pickett scored 12 points in what was likely his final home game for the Tigers. They finished the regular season at 11-20 overall. Mizzou now heads to Tampa for the SEC tournament. They will face Ole Miss on Wednesday at 5 p.m. It was a successful weekend of wrestling for Tiger style as Mizzou earned first place at the Big 12 Championship in Tulsa. Freshman Keegan O'Toole won the individual championship at 165 pounds, and 9 other Tigers placed on the podium in their divisions. This is Mizzou's 11th straight conference title in wrestling and their first Big 12 championship since their last year in the conference in 2012. The NCAA championships begin next Thursday in Detroit. Mizzou baseball opened up Taylor Stadium for the season by sweeping Tarleton State in a 3-game set this weekend. The Tigers improved to 9-1 and will take on Gonzaga for a 4-game series starting Thursday. 8th-ranked Mizzou softball grabbed 4 run rule wins in its first home games against St. Thomas and Bradley over the weekend. Sophomore Lauren Krings threw a 6-inning perfect game in the Tigers' lone contest yesterday. Mizzou is now 16-4. They begin SEC play against Tennessee starting Friday. Sports with the Missouri Heart Center. Comprehensive cardiovascular care in the heart of Missouri. MoHeartCenter.com. It's 6:07.
Well, ABC 17 storm track meteorologist Kevin Schneider. A few snow showers will be possible as you head out the door this morning, but those will wrap up fairly quick. The rest of the day will be spent cool and blustery under overcast skies as temperatures hang out in the 30s this afternoon. We'll cool off a little more tonight with lows falling into the middle 20s, but we're bouncing back nicely tomorrow with sunshine returning and highs in the mid to upper 40s. I'm meteorologist Kevin Schneider, and that's your ABC 17 storm track forecast on 93.9 The Eagle.
Weather with Steve's Pest Control. With warmer weather, pests become very active. In Missouri, there are 2 types of structures, ones that already have pests and ones that will. Steve's 5-star service and pest prevention will protect you 24/7. Go to stevespestcontrol.com for peace of mind. Right now, it's 31 degrees.
93.9 Eagle Eye Traffic.
Traffic check with MidboHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Visit MidboHires.com to find a job or post your job opening today. No wrecks yet, as far as what we can see. But do be careful because it's been raining most of the evening and into this overnight hours and into the early morning, so roads could still be slick. Be careful out there. 874-9390 if you want to tell us about traffic that you see in your area. Again, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Andy Humphrey, 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle.
What is happening?
Broadcasting live from the Zimmer Radio Group World Headquarters.
Great news for the American people.
This is Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert, featuring Stephanie Bell, news director Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah, the producer.
This is why we listen to you. Get ready, pal.
And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
It's extraordinary, George, for all of the sanctions that have been imposed, and they have been unprecedented on Russia, to sanction everything but the thing that drives their economy.
ABC's Jonathan Carl say, what are we doing? Right now, we're banning Netflix in Russia. Why are we banning oil right now? Why don't we do that? I don't know how many Russians are going to, we got to stop our invasion. I can't see the latest episode of Ozark anymore. It's crazy. By the way, there's a poll on our news partners ABC 17's website about what people locally think regarding getting involved in other people's business. And I always think that's an interesting question. It's not about people getting into other people's business. It's about we as a country, should we get involved in other countries' business? And every time something like this happens, I always think it's a really fair question. Because I always think in my personal life, your business is your business, my business is my business, and it's not my business to get involved in your affairs unless you ask. There's two situations in which I'm going to get involved in your business. Number one, if you ask me to. And number two, if it's advantageous for me. If there's something in it for me, I might get involved in your business.
But what if there's a disadvantage for you in not getting involved? And I think that's where a lot of people with the U.S. are looking at Ukraine. If we don't do something, then, our economies are so intertwined, and especially with energy prices, it's going to hurt us if we don't do something to try to stop it.
My goodness, gas prices nationwide. First time yesterday, I think, in 14 years, average price. Gasoline across America, more than $4 a gallon. One of the cheapest states in the country to get gasoline right now.
Missouri?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, right?
It sure don't feel like that.
Yeah, really?
Paying $3.66 a gallon. Hey, but you got it good in Missouri. Of course, in places like California, I think that's over $5 a gallon. Places Washington and Oregon, it's just insane.
I just have a little SUV, and I put $65 of gas in my car last week. Wow. I almost cried a little bit.
It's tough. And what do you do? There is really nothing you can do. You can start carpooling.
I was going to say, so Friday, for the first time in probably 4 years, Chris and I rode to Jefferson City together. Now, I had some, our daughter had a procedure, so I wasn't doing the radio, so my work schedule was a little bit different. But I said, hey, you know what? Do you want to ride together? We could save some money on gas.
Chris, by the way, Chris is Mr. Bell. Did he look at you? You mean like riding the same car with you?
Right?
Like, does this ever happen?
And typically we don't get that choice, right? But when we were younger and we were trying to save money, it was like, yeah, we'll ride together. And we did, and now like Ubered for lunch or Ubered to a meeting because it was cheaper to carpool. But a lot of people don't have that option.
Yeah, and really, who wants to carpool? If you're like me and don't really like people, I don't want to sit in a car with just me and somebody else and no buffer. Like if there's three of us, like last, remember the three of us went to Centralia to go give a talk for
I remember.
And it was...
I remember quite well. I was driving.
That was one of the weirdest things ever, by the way, with the photo book of Hannah.
That's what I'm saying.
Up through the years, but see, like there were three of us, so it's like I didn't have to sit and just visit. Like y'all could talk and I could do whatever.
But you also see us almost every day, so why would that have been awkward?
Well, it was, and it just made it easier. Until you brought out the photo album of Hannah through the years.
Those were just sitting in my back seat.
From ages 0 up through current. So interesting poll on ABC 17 on, I know it's early going, but right now. So the question on our news partners website, should outside countries intervene militarily in Ukraine? 62% of the folks right now are saying yes. And there's a lot at stake here for the United States of America, and mostly it's fuel prices, at least for now. And again, we go back to, we're on that worldwide stage. People see how we are reacting or not reacting. And then you have Jonathan Karl from ABC.
It's extraordinary, George, for all of the sanctions that have been imposed, and they have been unprecedented on Russia, to sanction everything but the thing that drives their economy.
Netflix. Canceled, by the way, it wasn't a government action. I get it. And it would be easy to say, well, if you heard that on Fox, and I believe the context is important, I hate to pull that card. Well, gosh, now even ABC and CNN are calling out the president. I don't like to play that card all the time.
I was going to say, you totally do.
I do. But that's ABC. It's not something that if it was from Fox, you'd be just kind of like, well, yeah, that's what they do on Fox. But when you start hearing a lot of this from all these other different news outlets, and there seems to be complete agreement about what's going on and about what's not going on, it's alarming. So you will notice Stephanie Bell is back. We're glad to have you back. And Cousin Andy came by to raid the fridge for a couple of days. Good to see you too, bud.
Again, I don't understand. I sound less like a cousin and more like a deadbeat nephew or something like that.
Deadbeat nephew Andy Humphrey filling in this morning for Brian Hauswirth, who has the day off. And if you're watching, you can always watch the show on YouTube. Go to 93.9 The Eagle. That's our YouTube channel that Hannah, the producer, has set up, and you'll see why Stephanie was off for the past couple of days. She was out getting her hair did, and it looks marvelous.
I did not get my hair done. I just did it differently. You'll notice that Branden didn't get the memo. Is everyone else in black? I think so.
I hate to be a buzzkill, but I'm wearing navy.
Oh, sorry. We kind of look like we all called each other to match today.
Cousin Andy, what are you wearing? I found out, I got the scoop on what Sister Steph, she spent a couple days, she got her hair did, and she got this new black outfit. She'll be here. What are you going to wear, Andy? Black.
Got black.
Well, it's like when Brian Hauswirth first joined the team. Of course, we do Red Fridays every Friday to remember everyone deployed. And Brian's first week with us, I forgot to tell him that we wear red on Fridays. And so poor Brian was the only one out of the four of us that wasn't wearing red, and I felt bad.
That's what we used to call back at Southeast Missouri State University. We call that hazing. Hey, should we tell this guy that we all do this thing on Friday? Nope.
It was an accident.
Hey, I want to give a shout out really quick because what I want to get into while we're talking about some of these news outlets. I like to joke the political parties, they get together every morning and they meet, just a select few of them in a big room, and they say, hey, whenever we do TV and radio interviews today, what's that common phrase we're going to use? Is it build back better? Is it this? What's the phrase we're going to use? And then everybody in the party, and everybody does it. I'm not just picking on one side, and they go out and they repeat this phrase all day in all of their interviews, and then it kind of becomes a thing. But here's what's stunning, and in lieu of this text we just received from Justin, I think I'm offended because at first I was just dumbfounded. But now we have a text from a guy by the name of Justin right now, sitting at the Frankfurt, Germany airport, streaming a few minutes of Wake Up Columbia, drinking beer. He even sends us a picture.
A stein of beer, like a big old German beer.
Warm.
Why are you offended?
I'm offended at what these people on the news are starting to equate what's happening in Ukraine, what they're equating it with. But now I'm mad. So first I was just offended. But now, see, if you look, you will find. If you wake up every day looking for stuff to make you mad, you will find it. And that's unfortunate. A lot of people do that. They look up like my dad. He'll still sit there and watch Fox TV and complain about Obamacare, smoking cigarettes. I don't know Obamacare. I'm like, Dad. Dude, that was like 12 years ago. Let it go, man. But he's looking for reasons to be upset about stuff. So I am too. And now, frankly, after this text, it really breaks my heart. He says he talked to people from all of the Eastern European countries this weekend. A lot of concerned folks really hoping this situation in Ukraine can be resolved. And obviously, we all think the same thing. It has been unfortunately inspiring to see what the people of Ukraine and how hard they are fighting to protect their, and as this woman from Jefferson City told us last week, who's only been in Missouri for 5 years now, as she told us, it's not about the land and this, it's about our freedom. It's about democracy, which that's why I came to America, the democracy, and that's what those people, that's what they're fighting for right now. So that's why when I hear people like U.S. Representative Pramila Jayapal equating the war in Ukraine with the progressives' agenda here at home, I'm like, are you serious? That is almost, and I don't know what your reaction is, but it's like, that's a pretty low blow.
But I will just say that there is a connection between what we are trying to do domestically and what we are trying to do internationally. Let me give you 3 ways that that's the case. First of all, democracy. We are both in the European Union and, with the war on Ukraine, the aggression of Russia on Ukraine, and here in the United States, we are trying to show that democracy works. We cannot allow suppression of votes domestically, nor...
Oh, there she goes, voting rights. What's happening in Ukraine, this is Kamala was kind enough to explain to us last week. See, Ukraine's this little country in Europe, and Russia's the bigger country, and Russia invaded Ukraine, and that's bad. You ever watch South Park, Andy?
I not recently, but I used to.
But you know who Mr. Mackey is, the counselor? Yeah. It's bad. It's bad. He's always saying it's bad. And Kamala explained that to us last week in trying to break down what's happening in Russia and Ukraine. She was very thorough and very simplistic in her explanation of what's happening there. And so now these folks, and by the way, it wasn't just Pramila Jayapal. Chuck Todd from MSNBC did the same thing. BLM did the same thing. So they're equating the people of Ukraine who have been attacked by this massive militaristic force that is Russia. And they're equating that to, voting rights. There's voting rights, asking folks to have voter ID. It's not infringing on voter rights. And so when we get text from somebody in Justin right now, sitting in Frankfurt, Germany, after being in Europe for a few days and saying, man, these people here are just heartbroken about this, and everybody's pulling for the same thing. And then we have these progressives that are saying, well, see, it's kind of like voting rights, like what we're trying to do here. Then I get mad. Welcome into the show. I introduced Hannah, the producer. My name is Branden Rathert. By the way, another new candidate in the House race in the 50th district. That's the seat that Sarah Walsh currently has. That's one of the things that we are going to be covering this morning here on the show. Also, hopefully, before 9 o'clock, Car Santa with the Cars for Heroes program going to be joining us, talking about a veteran. We are just trying to, well, we say a veteran, a hero. It can be anybody you consider a hero. Trying to help somebody out with some transportation. He's going to be joining us about 8:55, and he's always got a very inspiring story of somebody that we are trying to help. Coming up, 6:26 Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell. What leads off the three-ring circus this morning?
Well, we're talking, of course, about Ukraine and Russia. But last week I gave props to Elon. I should be giving some props to some moms.
Moms get props in the Daily DC Rundown. Stephanie Bell has that coming up 6:26 on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle. Watch the show on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page.
If the things are going to be really bad, we are going to go to the war and defend our country because we have no another way.
That's a Ukrainian resident saying, hey, yeah, we have the passion and everything to fight. We appreciate the support from other countries, United States included, but we could use some more weapons over here, aircraft and things like that. That gets us into today's Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell.
Yes, apparently Zelensky was on a video call with U.S. lawmakers. They called his plea desperate for not only warplanes, but also he called on U.S. lawmakers to cut off Russian oil imports. They just said he was pretty desperate. And actually, he said on the phone, "This may be the last time you see me alive." Wild. And so he's still doing those videos. He's still keeping people up to date, but apparently his pleas were desperate this weekend. Europe is facing a refugee crisis. So 1.5, although a lot of folks are staying put in Ukraine, a lot of people are picking up arms and fighting for their country. 1.5 million people have crossed from Ukraine into neighboring countries. And last week we gave Elon some props for throwing some satellites up to give them internet access. But this picture was making my heart so happy yesterday. I think it was going viral on the internet. But moms in Poland left their strollers lined up at the train station for moms who were fleeing from Ukraine, that when they, got there, they would have a stroller for their babies. And I thought, how smart is that? And just thoughtful. And, I was touched.
Yeah, and there have been a lot of stories that I've been seeing from over there that are touching me the same way. Ways that you can donate, because there's charitable organizations set up at the border. They're donating food. A lot of cool things happening there. Coming up at 6:35 here on 93.9 The Eagle, school safety and 4-day school weeks. What do you think? That's coming up 6:35 here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. I have your ABC 17 storm track forecast. Class 36 today. Then tonight, clearing. Overnight low down to 23. Tomorrow, we warm up a little bit. Tomorrow, sunny, high of 47. And then Wednesday, sunshine, high 52. Right now, it's 31. With warmer weather, pests become pretty active. In Missouri, there's two types of structures, ones that already have pests, ones that will. Steve's 5-star pest prevention will protect you 24/7. Steve'sPestControl.com.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. More talks to stop the fighting in Ukraine are being held this morning.
The Russian Defense Ministry saying for the third day running it will implement ceasefires in various cities, including Kyiv, but it will be hard for Ukrainian civilians who have been under fire for so long to trust that ceasefire. It's been broken the last 2 days. In Irpin, a bridge along which civilians were fleeing was targeted by a mortar attack.
Fox's Jonathan Hunt in Lviv, Ukraine. Among 7 people killed in Saturday's tornadoes in Iowa, 4 members of the same family, a father, 2 kids, and his mother-in-law. The mother and another son survived.
It's very rare to see tornadoes here in March. I spoke to residents today that survived.
We literally thought that our house was going to fly away.
They're going to have a long few days and weeks ahead of them.
Fox Weather's Robert Ray in Winterset, Iowa. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Andy Humphrey on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners, 6:31. Robinson saves you time. Currently 30 degrees. Good morning, I'm Andy Humphrey. It's now 3 16-year-old suspects detained after the death of a Columbia teenager. Columbia police say a third 16-year-old boy was caught in Peoria, Illinois last week. He's facing several felonies, including first-degree murder. The shooting happened on McKee Street in Northeast Columbia last month and killed 15-year-old Aubrey Doxley. Her mother says Aubrey was in her bedroom when the bullets came through her window and killed her. 2 others were injured in the shooting. A man was allegedly shot by his across-the-street neighbor in South Columbia. ABC 17 reports police got to a home on Poplar Hill Drive near Old Plank Road at around 2 p.m. Saturday. The victim's wife says her husband went to their front yard to fetch their dog. That's when someone from across the street started shooting and hit the man in the back. Officers say they have 1 man in custody. The victim is stable in the hospital. A convicted murderer from Columbia is maintaining her innocence. Lindley Rennick was featured in an exclusive interview in NBC's Dateline on Friday night. She is serving a 16-year sentence for second-degree murder and armed criminal action. Prosecutors say case. She killed her husband, Ben, at his Montgomery County snake farm in 2017. Rennick says that Michael Humphrey of Jefferson City was the one that killed her husband. Humphrey was also convicted of second-degree murder in the case. A Jefferson City man will spend 8 years in prison after admitting to attempted armed robbery. A judge handed down the sentence to Tariq Shelton last week. He was one of 4 people accused of robbing someone on Ventura Avenue in January 2020. Investigators say the suspects held a gun and knife at the victim while they stole a gun, money, and electronics. Shelton was originally charged with first-degree robbery, but his charge was reduced to attempted robbery. Columbia City Council will vote tonight on bringing back school resource officers for Columbia Public Schools. The measure would assign 4 officers to Columbia's 3 public high schools. The district has gone without SROs after its contract with the city ran out in 2020 because of financial reasons. The City Council will also hear a first reading on new ward boundaries during its meeting at 7 o'clock tonight. Missouri's governor says his appointment of Fulton's Paula Nicholson as the state's new acting health director is aimed at bringing stability to the department. Nicholson replaces former State Department of Health and Senior Services Director Donald Karoff. He resigned in February after the Senate declined to confirm him to the post.
We weren't expecting what happened in the Senate with Don when he went up there, but it did. So we had to react to that and really just try to figure out how do we make sure that health department is still stable.
That was Parson last week. Nicholson has worked for DHSS for more than 22 years, most recently as deputy director. She helped implement the department's box-in COVID-19 mitigation strategy. 93.9 The Eagle News with Mid-America Mortgage. Check out midamericamortgage.us and apply for a loan now on your dream home. It's 6:34. It was a happy senior day for Javon Pickett as Mizzou men's basketball topped Georgia on Saturday, 79-69. The Lone Tiger senior scored 12 points in the win. Kobe Brown led with 21 points. Mizzou finishes the regular season at 11-20. They will start SEC tournament play on Wednesday in Tampa, Florida against Ole Miss. Tip-off is set for 5 p.m. Mizzou wrestling captured its 11th consecutive conference championship over the weekend. The Tigers scored 131 points to win the Big 12 championships in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the program's first year back in the conference since 2012. Freshman Keegan O'Toole won an individual conference championship in 165-pound division. Head coach Brian Smith was also named Big 12 Coach of the Year. Tiger Style will now head to the NCAA championships in Detroit starting next Thursday. Both Mizzou Diamond Sports clubs had undefeated weekends at home. Mizzou baseball swept Tarleton State at Taylor Stadium, winning yesterday 11-6. They are 9-1 to start the season. Mizzou softball earned 4 run rule victories over St. Thomas and Bradley during the Mizzou Classic. It was capped off by a 6-inning perfect game from sophomore pitcher Lauren Krings yesterday. The 8th-ranked Tigers are now 16-4. It's 6:35. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Visit MidmoHires.com to find a job or post your job opening today. Looking at mostly clear roads for now. As we take a look around Columbia and Jefferson City, most of mid-Missouri looks to have pretty clear roads at the moment. Could still be slick from the rainfall overnight and the cool temperatures, so be careful still. 874-9390 if you see a wreck or any other traffic issues. 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Andy Humphrey, 93.9 The Eagle.
We have to be concerned about is the perceived presence of the SROs as a policing force rather than a partner in the students' education.
That's Noelle Gilzow. She is a teacher in the Columbia Public School District, and she is also president of the Columbia chapter of the National Educators Association. And she's talking about resource officers potentially, maybe likely coming back into Columbia Public Schools. I guess one of the things is going to be covered at the city council meeting tonight.
Yeah, they brought it up in their last one as the first reading, so now it's the second reading, and they get to vote tonight. So that's what we'll be looking forward to.
And here's what, and I'm going to make some assumptions here, and I'm going to stereotype, and I do it because sometimes, a lot of times it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm going to stereotype and make some assumptions from what I do know about this president of the local teachers union. She's talking about, well, and if we get more SROs in, and I heard this from some folks at the city council meeting a couple of weeks ago, the perception if they're in schools, it's the us versus them mentality. Council, am I out of line to say, but isn't if I'm making some assumptions and stereotypes, I'm assuming, and what I know about this person, she's a progressive, far, far left. Isn't it that mindset that's created a lot of the us versus them mentality when it comes to law enforcement? That mindset, that's what created that mindset. It's that thinking. Well, it's us versus them. They're not here to help us. They're here to get us. Is that a stretch?
No.
Because she goes on, and by the way, she was talking to our news partners at ABC 17. She kind of expounds on that whole thought process.
Police will be trained really highly in restorative practices and relationship building with the students so that it's not an us versus them feeling.
So we're going to do this, so we're going to train them so it's not an us versus them mentality, which was created, in my opinion, by that same mindset. What other things going to be talking about tonight? City council meeting. If you don't get to go, they show those meetings online. Another big thing happening tonight, City Councilwoman Pat Fowler, she has a resolution on ARPA funding. According to the Missourian, the proposed resolution calls for 100%.
Wow.
Of federal ARPA funds to be allocated to those who have been impacted harshly by the pandemic. So I'm wondering if the councilwoman, if she means like those restaurants and everything that the city leadership screwed, I wonder, does she mean them? All those people, they made those businesses shut down, those employees who lost their jobs, businesses who went out of business, people who lost a lot of money, people who, by the way, didn't shut down, but drew on lifetime savings. Some of the stories that I've heard over the past couple of years talking with small local business owners, and not just people in the restaurant industry, but a lot of these folks dipping into life savings just to try to keep a small local business going, to not have to fire somebody. I wonder if that's what they mean.
I don't think you should hold your breath on that, Brandon.
I think I would agree with you, Ms. Bell.
Brandon, are you doing okay this morning?
Why, do I sound funny, or am I?
You're just a little doom and gloom this morning.
Well, I'm getting on to better things here. There's an
park projects.
We're talking about instituting the third revenue stream for parks, by the way. And by the way, while you brought up parks, no, seriously.
I didn't bring up
So
parks.
Who brought up parks? You?
Me.
All right, Stephanie Bell, you're going to hear this.
Okay.
Seriously. So, I love our park system. I think it is asinine. I think it's wrong that we have 3 different revenue streams. But Columbia loves their taxes. Had a chance to vote against it several months ago. Didn't happen. Wasn't a surprise. We knew that would happen. But here's the thing. So my park taxes are being paid year round. But I can't use my walking trail because when it's covered in snow. They don't plow the walking trail. It's covered in snow. I'm paying taxes for my parks. You better plow my...
Are you kidding me? Don't you think they should focus on roads first?
The park system, which has their own dedicated maintenance system, that's the stuff they should be out doing. Plowing, well, not just my walking trails in the parks, but everybody's walking trails.
Remember when they told you about the trash, that you could pick up a trash bag and come help? I'm sure they'd tell you the same thing, that if you really need it plowed, you could pick up a shovel.
And let's be honest, if there's that much snow on the ground, are many people really out walking?
Doesn't matter. Are many people paying taxes to use the park? That's what I think.
Do you feel better?
All right. Who else wants to bring up the next topic to get me on back? I do have.
Jeez.
By the way, it's Wake Up Columbia. Andy Humphrey filling in for Brian. Good morning, Andy.
Hey there.
Stephanie Bell. Glad to have you back.
I'm glad to be back.
It's like we're a break from your kids and the family and everything after you're buried with them for a couple days. Woo! You get to go hang out with Wake Up Columbia. Hannah, the producer, is here.
Good morning, Cranky.
My name is Cranky Rathert. If there's anything that we can do for you, 874-9390. 874-9390. So I do have this. This is unless you want to talk about schools going to 4-day work weeks, I have this.
Work weeks?
School weeks.
There we go.
Sorry. Forgive me. So
Killing it.
So anybody who listens to the show knows I'm kind of scatterbrained anyway, but I have a sinus thing going on, and I can't hardly see. My eyes hurt, and my head hurts, and I can't hardly breathe out of my nose. Just so you know, that's why I'm going to keep making more mistakes than usual this morning here on the show. So I have this new method for cleaning ears. I have a commercial for that, and I recorded it because, like when you go to YouTube and you're looking for something, you're looking like for a Hannah Atkinson's sizzle reel, and you find one.
I still don't understand how or why you found that, but
I don't know how I found it either. But sometimes before you watch the video on a Hannah the producer sizzle reel, you got to watch a commercial. That's the other thing we get frustrated about. YouTube, we have this wonderful thing. We can go and get our fingertips on just about anything in the world. But I got to sit and watch a 15-second ad. I'm not real happy about that either this morning. But, sometimes you got to listen to those commercials. And I heard one, and you guys know I get kind of weird about some of that stuff. But this is a commercial for an ear cleaner.
This is the world's first smart earwax cleaner. It is reusable and removes up to 7 times more earwax.
First of all, that startles me a little bit that it's reusable. It's an ear cleaner, and it's reusable, like you wouldn't reuse a Q-tip. So it just strikes me as a little odd.
Doctors warn that standard cotton swabs are dangerous to your ears. Instead, they recommend a new safe earwax remover called Twiddler.
It's called Twiddler. T-V-I-D-L-E-R. Twiddler. And is what this thing is it's like an auger. It's like a twist. It's like a rotini shell. And you get this drill and you put the auger into your ear and drill it into your ear, and it slowly backs the stuff off.
Where is where's the little disclaimer? Like, this show is not medical advice or something? We need to play that.
Kind of interesting. Didn't we just have a local school district said they're going to go to a 4-day school week? I think was it Hallsville that's voting in favor. And this is I'm a big fan of this because when I was in high school, I did a 4-day school week. I went.
Did you even go 4 days? That sounds a little generous from what I've heard.
Towards my junior year, I only went on days when I had baseball games because the thing was back then you had to at least go to school that day to play. So there were some days, and I would only show up maybe at lunchtime just so I could play ball for the Center for Management and Law Public Policy Broncos. But I like the idea of a 4-day school week, and this is getting traction in Missouri.
You like the idea?
Yeah.
Why?
But I'm not a parent. If it's going to cut down on costs with fuel, electricity, all that. And here's another reason I'm a big fan of the 4-day week. It's because, like when I was a ski guide and a zipline guy, we had 4-day work weeks, and I loved it. Couldn't imagine having it any other way.
So in Missouri, a record 128 school districts have voted to go to the 4-day school week, and that's 25% of school districts. I would have guessed something much smaller.
And as a parent, what are your thoughts?
Well, it worries me. I mean, for me, it wouldn't change my life a whole lot, right? Because we have after school care and people that watch our kids, like a daycare provider that watches our kids any day there's snow day or PD day or whatever. So it would not change my daily schedule. I worry about
Wait, it wouldn't change your daily schedule.
Right.
Would it change Mr. Bell's daily schedule?
Not really, because we're able to provide, have childcare, but I think about folks who don't have childcare, who need to go to work. And I mean, it would be extra money for us. So it wouldn't change our day-to-day activity, but we would have to pay for that 1 day a week care now that we're not having to pay for. And then, I just, for younger kids in elementary, that's been really hard. I mean, my son is 10 now, and you think about what age do you start thinking about leaving them home a little bit by themselves. But for most people, you wouldn't leave them home all day alone. But, for a lot of parents, there isn't an option. And so where are these kids going on Fridays? Are they just watching TV all day long? Are they by themselves? That part worries me for kids in families where there aren't any options.
I remember, so the generation of the latchkey kids, I mean, heck, the probably the generation right after mine, latchkey kids, that came under after several years. People were like, hey, maybe, we're entrusting kids to have more responsibility, spend more time at home by themselves. But thanks to these at-home game systems, Nintendo, NES, our kids go home, they play video games, and I have to worry about mom and dad. And over the years, people said maybe that wasn't such a good idea. And by the way, apparently daycare, especially good daycare right now, exceedingly difficult to find anyway, and apparently incredibly expensive. I have stories from friends that share the cost of daycare. I'm like, man, can't you just sell the kids or something? Make some money.
No, like several local daycares have closed, and Ashland, I mean, it's one of the hardest spots to come by when you move there. I mean, I watch the Facebook groups, and they'll be, you see, hey, I'm moving there in 4 months. What do I do with my kid? And we had the same problem. I mean, we struggled for a long time trying to find a spot. And Ashland, I mean, I think daycares were one of the places that was most harmed during COVID. Some of them were closed. Some of them, with labor shortages, haven't been able to replace those folks. And I think it's a struggle everywhere. And if you're going to try to get people back to work, it's something that folks have to have. You have to have care for your kid if you want to go to work.
And it's incredibly expensive. And keep that in mind. Boy, I do sound right. Yeah. I do sound like a bummer. I'm not trying to talk you out of marriage or the joyhood of kids. You should have them.
Just space them out a little bit.
Yeah, space them out. And, just a lot of things too. I think.
I'm sure this is like Andy's favorite part of hanging out with us. Is he always gets such great relationship advice from you?
Yes, absolutely. Straight from the source.
No, I'm saying space it out. My third was closer together than I had fully appreciated. And if you're the person dropping 3 kids off at daycare, people look at you like you're a crazy person.
Okay.
Why don't you just stay at home? So yeah, you don't want 3 kids in daycare at once.
Coming up, Rick has some thoughts on Obamacare. Just like my dad still does today, 12 years later. My dad's still watching Fox TV, smoking, and say, wow, Obamacare. Also, Harvey Weinstein busted in prison with some contraband. What was the contraband he got busted with? That's coming up at 6:53 here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. Good. A chance, maybe an opportunity to learn kind of a new skill, a new career, even if you want to try it. And you want to, here's the thing, it's hard to find that right match. Besides the stuff, okay, learning a new skill, good pay, all that good stuff. But are these the right people to work for? Is this a family that if I'm going to invest my time and my energy and all this, will they be equal to that commitment that I give to them? And I would say, yes, that's what they do. And that's why a lot of folks looking for work will turn to pro pumping and hydrojetting. You can go to their website. You could start there, see about job openings, send them an email. Just kind of interested. Kind of what's the deal with this? Pro pumping and hydrojetting, pro-pumping.com.
Hey, it's Coach Gary Pinkel. I like to listen to Branden Rathert on Wake Up Columbia 93.9 The Eagle.
This is the world's first smart earwax cleaner. It is reusable and removes up to 7 times more earwax. Doctors warn that standard cotton swabs are dangerous to your ears.
I'll take my chances with the cotton swabs. Maybe a thin stretch, but Rick wants to talk about Obamacare. Rick, welcome into the show. What can we do for you?
Well, Brandon, thanks for taking the call. You brought the topic up, and, Obamacare, for instance, an independent business with 4 family members, their health care or insurance costs have more than quadrupled to pay for the others that are on Obamacare, but we still have as many people uninsured, and it's $1 trillion a year. 2016, they wanted to get rid of it. That's what they told us. John McCain apparently stood in the way of that, but no more talk about it. We're going to keep the program, even though we can't afford $1 trillion a year program like that. It's about control of the people, not about health care.
And I don't disagree with what you're saying. Thank you so much for the phone call. We do appreciate that, because there is a lot of that, this whole thing with, and I'll focus on the words used, the control. They want the control. And I say this as most folks, whether businesses, hell, the NFL, they're doing away with all their COVID stuff. There are still some places like, California, places like that. It's all about that control. You are going to mask. You are going to do this. It's stunning when I see these places still doing it. I'm like, really? Like, that's so 2021, man.
I was in St. Louis last week. I walked into a Trader Joe's and I was like, time warp? Everyone had a mask on, and I actually felt they kept looking at me, and I'm like, well, I was like, I don't even know where I don't even have a mask. There's not one in my car. There's not one in my purse. I don't know what to do.
Hey, Harvey Weinstein in prison for all that stuff he did to those women who were in very vulnerable positions over the years, looking for professional breaks, and what he did just dastardly. Got caught in prison with some contraband. So Harvey Weinstein, apparently not in very good health either. The contraband that he got caught with in prison, milk duds.
Gross. Milk duds are honestly like the worst candy.
Man, we're all cranky this morning.
Stephanie Bell with a hot take.
I'm cranky about gas prices and the mindset that got us, especially in the city of Columbia, got all these businesses shut down, and now we want to take ARPA money and give it to folks that didn't get businesses shut down. Stephanie's upset about milk duds. It's insane. Hey, by the way, new candidate in the State House 50th District race to tell you about coming up at 7:10. Hey, what's up? I'm Branden Rathert for Atterbury Auction and Realty Company. Go to the website, atterburyauction.com, and is what they do. They do a whole bunch of things. We're talking about the country. There's a Country Club of Missouri. It's an online auction. But right now, you're to get on the website. You can see everything you need to know about the property. There's pictures. There's a sample sales contract, property information packet, all kinds of stuff on there. And there's some really nice properties around Missouri, too. Log home and acreage. And this is going to be happening online only, by the way, and it's in Columbia. Beautiful log home. More info on this, you want to go to atterburyauction.com. Atterbury is ATTERBERRY, like a berry. Atterburyauction.com. You can check out details on this beautiful, stunning log home. 60-plus acres in the south part of Columbia. Atterburyauction.com.
It's day 12 of Ukraine under attack. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Volodymyr Zelensky in a new video says they never wanted this fight, but they're forced to get the enemy out of their land, with many Ukrainian cities still being bombarded. Another round of talks is set for today, but Russia's proposed new ceasefire for Kyiv in several areas may fall apart like the other two.
Because Russia's offer involved taking people out of these 6 places and sending them directly to Belarus and Russia, of course a non-starter for so many of them. The Red Cross also said that the humanitarian corridors, which were set up in the last few days to try and get people out of Mariupol, those had actually been mined, meaning buses couldn't get in, people couldn't get out.
And the people in that city
have been without power now for 6 days, and food and medicine there is almost gone.
Fox's Benjamin Hall in the capital, Kyiv. Russia's already been punished with economic sanctions. Now the U.S. is considering banning Russian oil imports as the price of oil surges again today, and gas does too. AAA's national average for regular is $4.06 per gallon, up 45 cents since Tuesday. Nearly 2 years to the day after COVID was declared a pandemic, a grim milestone. Fox's Eben Brown has it live.
Yeah, Dave, worldwide, more than 6 million deaths are now attributed to the COVID-19 pandemic. That number is computed by Johns Hopkins University. While the rates of infection and death are waning in the United States, the nation is nearing 1 million recorded deaths itself, though a number of states which had been clinging to strict mask policies have finally done away with them. Some parts of Asia and Europe are still reporting significant spread of the virus, especially in some remote island populations that had, up until now, been widely unaffected, Dave.
Evan drama at Joint Base Andrews last night near Washington. 2 men in a car drove past a security checkpoint. One was armed and taken into custody. The other fled, which put the base on lockdown, though it's believed he's left the area. It happened right after Vice President Harris left the base following a trip to Selma, Alabama to commemorate a 1965 Civil Rights March. America's listening to Fox News.
After 9/11, Saul Martinez couldn't wait to enlist. In Iraq, his vehicle was hit by a projectile improvised explosive device. Saul survived, but he lost both legs, suffered a traumatic brain injury, and lost 2 close friends. Saul now lives in a smart home from the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, which gave him back his independence despite his severe physical challenges. Help heroes like Saul. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Is your current home loan the right fit for you? Near historic low rates may be a great reason to refinance, but when matched with an expertly chosen loan from Loan Depot, you could be saving money and paying more towards the bottom line. Call a Loan Depot loan officer and ask about our 27-year Smart Term loan or our 10-year ARM loan. Get a great rate matched with a great loan by calling 866-888-LOAN or visit LoanDepot.com. At Loan Depot, home means everything. Rates are subject to change. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing opportunity. NMLS number 174457. Licensed in all 50 states.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Andy Humphrey on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:03. With Robinson's Cleaners, Robinson saves you time. It's currently 30 degrees. Cloudy skies expected for today with a high of 36. Good morning, I'm Andy Humphrey. Police say a third teenager has been detained by Illinois authorities for his alleged involvement in a February homicide in Northeast Columbia. The 16-year-old boy is charged as a juvenile and is in custody in Peoria. 15-year-old Aubrey Doxley was shot to death on February 19th. Her mother says Aubrey was lying in bed at home when shots came through the window and killed her. Officers have already detained 2 other 16-year-old suspects in the case. One person is hospitalized and another is arrested after a shooting in a South Columbia neighborhood. ABC 17 reports it happened on Poplar Hill Drive near Old Plank Road Saturday afternoon. Witnesses say a man went to grab his dog from his front yard. Then someone from across the street shot at the man and hit him in the back. Police say the victim was taken to the hospital and is stable. They also arrested one person after the shooting. The brother of a prominent Mid-Missouri snake breeder was one of several people featured in an NBC Dateline episode last Friday. Sam Rennick says he was frustrated that Lindley Rennick received only a 16-year prison sentence for murdering his brother. Ben Rennick was shot to death in his Montgomery County snake facility in 2017. Lindley Rennick continues to maintain her innocence. She testified that Michael Humphrey of Jefferson City shot and killed her husband. Humphrey was a key prosecution witness at Lindley Rennick's December trial. A Jefferson City man draws an 8-year prison term for a violent robbery.
Tariq Shelton pleads guilty to attempted first-degree robbery. That after prosecutors reduced the charge from first-degree robbery. He was arrested in January of 2020 after being accused of being one of 4 people who robbed a person in the 100 block of Ventura in Jefferson City. John Marsh, 93.9 the Eagle.
A plan to bring back school resource officers to Columbia's 3 public high schools will be on the agenda for the city council tonight. Members will vote on whether to approve a plan that would assign 4 officers to the schools. The district hasn't had school resource officers since 2020 when its contract with the city expired due to financial reasons. The city council will also discuss new ward boundaries tonight. Transparency is a top priority for Missouri's new acting health director, who is from Fulton. Paula Nicholson has worked for the State Department of Health and Senior Services for more than 22 years.
I will personally attest to you that we give you the very best information we have at any given time. It may change, but we're going to continue to give the very best information we can at any time, and we're going to continue to communicate openly.
Former Director Donald Karoff resigned from the position last month when the Missouri Senate refused to confirm him. Nicholson had been appointed by Governor Parson. She does not have to be confirmed by the Missouri Senate as acting director. 93.9 The Eagle News with the Candy Factory. Any time of year is a good time for tasty treats and delicious handmade chocolates and candies from the Candy Factory in downtown Columbia. Anniversary, birthday, any day. Find them at thecandyfactoryonline.com. It's 7:06. Mizzou men's basketball finished the regular season with a win Saturday. The Tigers beat out Georgia 79-69 at Mizzou Arena thanks to 21 points from Kobe Brown. Mizzou's lone senior Javon Pickett scored 12 points in what was likely his final home game for the Tigers. They finished the regular season at 11-20 overall. Mizzou now heads to Tampa for the SEC tournament. They will face Ole Miss on Wednesday at 5 p.m. It was a successful weekend of wrestling for Tiger style as Mizzou earned first place at the Big 12 Championships in Tulsa. Freshman Keegan O'Toole won the individual championship at 165 pounds, and 9 other Tigers placed on the podium in their divisions. This is Mizzou's 11th straight conference title in wrestling and their first Big 12 championship since their last year in the conference in 2012. The NCAA championships begin next Thursday in Detroit. Mizzou baseball opened up Taylor Stadium for the season by sweeping Tarleton State in a 3-game set over the weekend. The Tigers improved to 9-1. 8th-ranked Mizzou softball grabbed 4 run rule wins in its first home games against St. Thomas and Bradley. Sophomore Lauren Krings threw a 6-inning perfect game in the Tigers' lone contest yesterday. Mizzou is now 16-4 on the season. Sports with Service Master Clean of Columbia. If you have fire, water, or mold damage, tell your insurance agent you want the master of disaster with the big yellow van. Adam Kinzer with ServiceMasterofColumbia.com. It's 7:07. Weather with Steve's Pest Control. With warmer weather, pests become very active. In Missouri, there are 2 types of structures, ones that already have pests and ones that will. Steve's 5-star service and pest prevention will protect you 24/7. Go to Steve's Pest Control for peace of mind. Right now, 30 degrees. With MidboHires.com, local companies looking for local people. Visit MidboHires.com to find a job or post your job opening today. We haven't seen reports of wrecks in Columbia or Jefferson City or mid-Missouri at the moment. Seeing the usual build-up on some of those secondary roads like Missouri Boulevard in Jefferson City, also Stadium Boulevard in Columbia. Let us know if you see traffic, 874-9390. Give us a call or a text. Again, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Andy Humphrey, 93.9 The Eagle.
It's extraordinary, George, for all of the sanctions that have been imposed, and they have been unprecedented on Russia, to sanction everything but the thing that drives their economy.
That is odd, and I would have played more from ABC's Jonathan Karl, but Chris Christie was on that panel too, and he interrupted and didn't let Jonathan Karl finish his thought, but he's just asking the question, so we've cut off Netflix, and you can't do credit cards and some of this stuff, and but what would really hurt them is if we cut off, if we don't buy their oil and their gas and all that. Why don't we do that? Well, our gas prices would go up probably even more, I would imagine.
No.
By the way, one of the cheapest states for gasoline right now. It
can't be here.
It's here.
What?
Really?
Yeah, one of the cheapest nationwide for gasoline. Cheapest prices, statewide average.
So before I go to Disney, I should get a little trailer and load up all my Missouri gas as I travel south.
I would get a U-Haul and put get a septic tank. Call it folks propane and hydrojetting. Have them empty out a septic tank. Put that septic tank into a little U-Haul trailer. Fill it with gasoline. So you pull that gasoline with you from here all the way to Disney.
What could possibly go wrong?
As long as you don't have little kids in the van or anything. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Stephanie Bell back in the fold. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
Andy Humphrey's here, too.
Hey there.
I always get excited when we see Cousin Andy here on the show. We call him that because he's a member of the Wake Up Columbia family. We just don't know where, so we call him Cousin Andy. That's why.
Well, you call him Cousin Andy. I don't know if the rest of us do.
I'm glad Andy's here. You know what I want to know more about?
Major League Baseball strike. What's happening there?
Yes.
Really? Because this is really going to, this will affect us here in Columbia, by the way. This has effects here in Columbia. What's going on? So I hear it's billionaires fighting against millionaires.
Yes. In my personal view, I think the billionaires could be doing a little bit of a better job with this whole thing. But it's still in a standstill. The players made a proposal yesterday, which then the owners called, bogus. They didn't like it. Was
that the word they used?
Might have been around there. But yeah, it's just last week seemed to be their best chance at hashing it all out, but they're still so far apart on their dollar amounts, and it's just sad.
Matter of fact, I think one of the best players in baseball, Bryce Harper, said, "Hey, I'll go play in Japan if you want." Cardinals players, I know, because they're not in spring training, regular season's supposed to begin in like 3 weeks. They've canceled at least the first
two series.
Yeah, canceled the first 2 series of the season. Cardinals players, those that are so inclined, kind of doing their own spring training, just trying to get ready in case something does happen.
Yeah, and we talked about just the number of businesses that would be impacted, not only from the workers who work in the stadiums and the restaurants and folks around the stadium, but something I didn't think about that I heard about recently was fantasy sports. So there's licensed fantasy sports operators, here and elsewhere. And, if they're not playing, then you don't really have your fantasy sports teams.
No,
right?
it affects so much, right? Even just a little bit of a canceled season definitely affects some of that. One of the good things that's come out of this, though, you call it good, but it's almost necessary at this point. The Players Association is actually putting together a fund for some of those stadium workers that have lost out on some of the work that they're having to do for the first week of the season. So that's being put together.
That's a good move. Of course, it's been a while since there's been a real stoppage in Major League Baseball action because of labor issues, but people say, I'm never going back to that sport. It's like whenever people get disgruntled with football for whatever reason, people say, I'm not going to go and watch that anymore because they're not standing for the national anthem. And I'm one of those, I watch less football. I don't know if it's because of political stuff. I just last year didn't. But NFL ratings continue to kill it. Nobody's stopping watching football, if I'm correct in that statement.
Oh, no, definitely not. And it's going the opposite way for baseball, too. Even though the sport's growing, it's very profitable, but this is not a way to win your fans over.
It certainly isn't going to help.
So is someone kind of drawing up scenarios like, okay, if we can do something by this date, then this is what the season would look like? Or is there a drop dead date? If nothing happens by this date, the whole season is a wash?
That would be pretty drastic. But the thing is, watching this entire thing, I've tried to really hold off my optimism because they just seem so far apart on this. There's no real set date. Right now, all they say is that the first basically week of the season is canceled, but it's been a week now since they've said that. So are they going to cancel another week? Who knows? It's all just kind of up in the air.
Welcome into the show. If there's something we can do for you, 874-9390. My name is Branden Rathert. By the way, so there's some news in the race for Sarah Walsh's seat, 50th District House seat for the state of Missouri. There's a candidate. His name is James Musgraves. He's announced his candidacy to replace Sarah Walsh. He's a retired Navy commander. And one of the things I'm most excited to ask about, what do you want to do? What would you, what's your thing? But he's a retired U.S. Navy commander, and I noticed he's got a Florida area code, Florida Panhandle area code, where I used to live. I'm like, man, maybe I actually know this guy. Meanwhile, current state representative, I happened to be scanning Facebook over the weekend because I couldn't do anything else because poor me and my sinus thing. Can you imagine if I were dating somebody, how miserable that would be for her right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would just be...
You got the man flu.
You got the man flu.
Which the man flu is a very real thing. Yeah. Stephanie, I don't know if you've had much experience with the man flu.
Oh, 100%.
But it is real. Like I'm not I can't I can see, but not very well.
It's a wonder you made it into work this morning.
Well, believe me, I would like to have not been here, but I don't know how to do that right now. Believe me. State Representative Cherie Tolson-Reich put up an interesting Facebook post. Got town talking.
People are really upset about this. So I guess she had called MoDOT to ask, hey, since we did the census, when can we put up the population signs? And I think she was really worried on making sure that people knew that Ashland was bigger than Centralia. Because that's what I was worried about.
Haven't we had this battle before, Ashland v. Centralia?
But it's a source of community pride. Like if your community grows a lot and people roll through your town and it says like 402 people, then people are like, oh, but once you hit a certain number, like you're like, oh yeah, we can post that on our city limit sign. And then also, if you are a big sports town, MoDOT used to put up these like state championship banners as well. And I guess she called to say, hey, when are we updating these? And they basically said, never. That apparently they're not going to update these city limit signs. It's distracting to drivers is what she reported. And she said, I think it takes away from community pride, and I'm disappointed to learn this. And apparently everyone in Missouri agrees with her.
Yeah, she's got a lot of traction on it. So is what she is saying, according to Cherie Tolson-Reich's Facebook post, said she asked MoDOT about the populations being put on the sign, and she says that they're notified that we're not going to do it anymore because it's too distracting to drivers.
I think that is crazy.
Yeah, I agree. That doesn't seem like
out of all the distractions you can face while driving, I don't think that a population number on a green sign is a big issue.
And it's already on there. So are they just going to leave the old one up, or like when you get it replaced, we're going to put a new one in every single town, which seems like a huge waste of money if we're not updating it at all.
Somebody going to come by with a green can of spray paint, just spray over it. Here's the thing that I find incredibly frustrating, and there used to be some, so if you're taking 63 southbound and you get off onto Stadium, they used to have signs on the side of the road. And it was, real cutesy. And the sign would say DNT TXT DRV. Andy, can you decipher that? DNT TXT DRV on the side of the road.
Don't text and drive.
Yes.
Okay.
And you're trying to figure it out. DNT TXT. That's distracting. You're trying to tell me don't text and drive, and I'm driving, but what does that mean?
So the blinking, what I'm trying to say, those big signs, the actual MoDOT signs, that have in Nashville, they're always like saying jokes, and my sister sends me them, and they're hilarious. The one says, "Don't forget to use your blink and blinker." Those are distracting. But if I'm a city, I have like a vendetta. I get mad. And I put up, because you can put like welcome to whatever, they make the nice ones. I would make the biggest, most obnoxious welcome to Ashland with like the big population. Maybe it blinks. I don't know. Can you put, MoDOT probably would not like that. But, with all my state championship signs, home of the sliced bread or whatever, one of these Missouri things. And I would just, here's your MoDOT sign and here's my sign.
Those other signs that are annoying on the side of the road, the speed limit signs. That's got to be distracting, too. Let's take those down. But meanwhile, let's chat with Roy at 874-9390. Roy, what's up, bud?
She's stealing my thunder. In Texas County, we put up our own cotton picking signs, and we put whatever we want on them. We even spell the names correctly and things like that.
Hey, Roy, thank you, man. We appreciate that. 874-9390, 874-9390. Be interesting to see if that is indeed true. This putting the population numbers. So the I-70, mile marker 163.1, mile marker 163.2, and all that, that's not distracting. Population on the entrance sign for a city, that's distracting.
Well, yeah.
That's according to Cherie Tolson-Reich's Facebook post. Be interesting to check in with somebody at MoDOT and see whether or not that I'm saying Cherie is inaccurate, but I wonder if there's any other reasons for that. Coming up, we got What's Hot with Hannah for you. What's Hot with Hannah today? What do you got for us?
I'm counteracting your crankiness with a feel-good story about kindergartners.
Feel good.
I know you do.
Automotive Repair Shop, Columbia, and in Boonville. One of those things, one of the things I had an appreciation about for Gap's Automotive Repair Shop, there's been several things. So when I first went there, I didn't know who they were. They didn't know who I was. And I went there, and one of the things that I had some rattling somewhere, and they're trying to figure it out. I kid you not. I come back to this place, and I'm looking for my car, thinking my car's done, and it's not done. And I'm like, well, what's going on? And they said, well, that rattling, we couldn't figure it out. We had to take it out for a drive. And I'm like, really? Like, yeah, that's what we did. We went to, and sure enough, they found it was like something in a door panel that had broken off. That thing had been driving me insane for months. But they just didn't go, oh, it's something inconsequential. They, seriously looked into it. And I know that it's kind of a rattle, something broken off in the door panel, not that big of a deal. But that shows you the amount of detail that they will put into your vehicle for just about any kind of service work that they do. I trust these guys implicitly with my vehicle with almost 140,000 miles. I think you would too. Gap's Automotive Repair Shop. Find them. They're on Vandiver in Columbia, and they're in Boonville.
putting the fun in dysfunctional. Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
What is happening here in the country. That right now, while we are talking about supporting, as we should, supporting countries abroad, that they are literally fighting for their democratic rights, that we still have to really recognize that that's not too far removed from what we see happening here in this nation, that voting rights are under attack.
So somebody got the talking points. There was a meeting last week, and the progressives said, hey, here's how we frame, because there's positive traction now behind Joe and the whole thing with Ukraine and Russia. It's not good traction, but it's a little bit more positive, so we need to carry this message. So the message is, because it seems the world stands behind the people of Ukraine while we admire their spunk and their attitude in trying to fight off this massive Russian army. So now here's what the progressives are doing. They had a meeting. They got together and they said, here's the talking point. Like, if you go and you do any TV interviews or you put out tweets, liken the invasion into Ukraine from Russia. It's American voting rights. It's so when we say this is why we need voting rights legislation, okay, this will liken it to that. And it's crazy. We have voting rights, and this idea, listen, you know how many thousands of people, I'm assuming, brought their papers to this film thing over the weekend so they could get in and see a damn movie? They don't want to bring a driver's license to vote. It's just some skewered, severely misplaced priorities. That's how these people are thinking, man. Welcome into the show. Wake Up Columbia. I am Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Hannah the producer, and Andy Humphrey is in for Brian Hauswirth today. Right now it's 7:25-ish, which means it's
7:28.
Time for What's Hot with Hannah.
You know, you've been kind of crabby this morning, so I figured I'd try to counteract that with a feel-good story.
I'm listening.
Just kind of a cool story from a kindergarten class in the state of California. Let me guess, you have this too?
No, but I got another. The simplicity, the way kids think, their mindset. We could learn a lot from kids nowadays right now, but go ahead.
So they have started a, basically self-help hotline, and they've called it Pep Talk, PEPTOC, and it's one of those, you dial the number, and it says if you're feeling mad, frustrated, or nervous, press 1. If you need words of encouragement and life advice, press 2. And it goes on. But it sends you to a recording of these kindergartners giving, sage life advice. And I think that this is awesome.
Wow.
They went viral for this. And as of last week, they were getting, 700 phone calls an hour.
Really?
To this little kindergarten self-help hotline.
Is there a phone number?
There is, and it's posted on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page.
Whoa. That's very cool. So you go and check out that phone number. So here's where I was talking about, and I love this because there is something about a kid giggling, a child giggling. It's like whenever I get to the opportunities that I see Stephanie's kids, man, because they're all crazy in a good way. They have these phenomenal personalities and they're vibrant bundles of joy. I love it. It's why I love being around my grandkids. But kids have a tendency to keep it simple. We go to Grimsby, England, which is in Lincolnshire. Big old church clock been broke for a couple of years, so they get in some experts and they go in and they do a bid and they say, this is going to be about $53,000 to $67,000. A 15-year-old came in and solved that problem. How did he solve it? That is coming up at 7:35.
In Missouri, there are 2 types of structures, ones that already have pests and ones that will. Steve's 5-star service and pest prevention will protect you 24/7. Go to Steve's Pest Control for peace of mind.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. The last 2 were broken, but Russia's announced another ceasefire in Ukraine to allow for escape routes for people leaving the country. Fox's Simon Owens at a refugee camp in Korchova, Poland.
A warehouse has been converted. There are thousands of cots laid out one against the other and hectic pens outside where people wait to catch a bus to their next destination, perhaps to friends or family elsewhere in Europe. Most people here are women and young children. It is bitingly cold outside, and many say they are simply exhausted after long journeys away from the war.
There are more talks about ending the fighting today. The last time gas prices were this high was 2008.
The national average gas price now $4 per gallon. Oil prices are also skyrocketing as both Congress and the Biden administration say it might be time to ban Russian imports.
Fox's Brooke Singman. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Andy Humphrey on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners, 7:31. Robinson saves you time. Currently 30 degrees. Good morning, I'm Andy Humphrey. It's now 3 16-year-old suspects detained after the death of a Columbia teenager. Columbia police say a third 16-year-old boy was caught in Peoria, Illinois last week. He's facing several felonies, including first-degree murder. The shooting happened on McKee Street in Northeast Columbia last month and killed 15-year-old Aubrey Doxley. Her mother said Aubrey was in her bedroom when the bullets came through her window and killed her. 2 others were injured in the shooting. A man was allegedly shot by his across-the-street neighbor in South Columbia. ABC 17 reports police got to a home on Poplar Hill Drive near Old Plank Road at around 2 p.m. Saturday. The victim's wife says her husband went to their front yard to fetch their dog. That's when someone from across the street started shooting and hit the man in the back. Officers say they have one man in custody. The victim is stable in the hospital. A convicted murderer from Columbia is maintaining her innocence. Lindley Rennick was featured in an exclusive interview on NBC's Dateline on Friday night. She is serving a 16-year sentence for second-degree murder and armed criminal action. Prosecutors say she killed her husband Ben at his Montgomery County snake farm in 2017. Rennick says that Michael Humphrey of Jefferson City was the one that killed her husband. Humphrey was also convicted of second-degree murder in the case. A Jefferson City man will spend 8 years in prison after admitting to attempted armed robbery. A judge handed down the sentence to Tariq Shelton last week. He was one of 4 people accused of robbing someone on Ventura Avenue in January of 2020. Investigators say the suspects held a gun and knife at the victim while they stole a gun, money, and electronics. Shelton was originally charged with first-degree robbery, but his charge was reduced to attempted robbery. Columbia City Council will vote tonight on bringing back school resource officers for Columbia Public Schools. The measure would assign 4 officers to Columbia's 3 public high schools. The district has gone without SROs after its contract with the city ran out in 2020 because of financial reasons. The City Council will also hear a first reading on new ward boundaries during its meeting at 7 o'clock tonight. Missouri's governor says his appointment of Fulton's Paula Nicholson as the state's new acting health director is aimed at bringing stability to the department. Nicholson replaces former State Department of Health and Senior Services Director Donald Karoff. He resigned in February after the Senate declined to confirm him to the post.
We weren't expecting what happened in the Senate with Don when he went up there, but it did. So we had to react to that and really just try to figure out how do we make sure that health department is still stable.
That's Parson from last week. Nicholson has worked for DHSS for more than 22 years, most recently as deputy director. She helped implement the department's box-in COVID-19 mitigation strategy. 93.9 The Eagle News with Willett Dental Associates. 4 out of 10 people are scared of the dentist, but Willett Dental Associates practices conscious sedation dentistry to relax those fears. Make an appointment now at 573-445-5300 or WillettDentalAssociates.com. It's 7:34. It was a happy senior day for Javon Pickett as Mizzou men's basketball topped Georgia on Saturday, 79-69. The Lone Tiger senior scored 12 points in the win. Kobe Brown led with 21 points. Mizzou finishes the regular season at 11-20. They will start SEC tournament play on Wednesday in Tampa, Florida against Ole Miss. Tip-off is set for 5 p.m. Mizzou wrestling captured its 11th consecutive conference championship over the weekend. The Tigers scored 131 team points to win the Big 12 championships in Tulsa. In the program's first year back in the conference since 2012, freshman Keegan O'Toole won an individual conference championship in the 165-pound division. Tiger Style will now head to the NCAA championships in Detroit starting next Thursday. Both Mizzou Diamond sports clubs had undefeated weekends at home. Mizzou baseball swept Tarleton State at Taylor Stadium, winning yesterday 11-6. They are 9-1 to start the season. Mizzou softball earned 4 run-rule victories over St. Thomas and Bradley during the Mizzou Classic. It was capped off by a 6-inning perfect game from sophomore pitcher Lauren Krings yesterday. The 8th-ranked Tigers are 16-4. And the Blues lost yesterday in overtime to New Jersey 3-2. St. Louis has lost 3 straight. They will host Ottawa tomorrow night. Sports with Betts Jewelers. For gifts that last a lifetime, visit Betts Jewelers in downtown Columbia. It's 7:35. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Visit MidmoHires.com to find a job or post your job opening today. As of now, no wrecks to speak of in Columbia or in Jefferson City at the moment. As far as what we can see, seeing the usual buildup that you get from your early morning commute, but nothing major at the moment. Let us know if you see something major, though. 874-9390. Call or text us. Again, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Andy Humphrey, 93.9 The Eagle.
So apparently somebody doing, by the way, an amazing job. National anthem for Charlotte's Major League Soccer home opening. And the mic cuts out. I guess this was their home opening of all time, like first game of the season or something.
Well, yeah, they're a new Major League Soccer franchise, yes.
And the crowd has got this. I love that. I love when that stuff happens. And Hannah, you'll be happy to know I haven't found anything critical to say of this yet because I'm awfully cranky this morning.
That's good.
And it's not my intent. Oh, wait, I found an angle.
No.
I bet.
Doesn't that just give you chills, though?
I bet it was staged. I mean, brand new team,
Seriously?
right? Seriously?
Viral.
And everybody in the stadium was in on it, right?
Sorry. Welcome into the show. This is Wake Up Columbia. That is Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
Andy Humphrey is here in for Brian Hauswirth.
Hey there.
And then Hannah, the producer, is there.
Good morning.
My name is Branden, 874-9390. If there's something that we can do for you. And St. Louis is actually getting a Major League Soccer team to the excitement of soccer fans all across Missouri. And I guess it's going to be an impressive stadium, all that good stuff.
Yeah, it is. They were supposed to start this year, but COVID pushed it back, so they're going to start next year.
And here's the thing. So by the way, State Representative Cherie Tolson-Reich is apparently calling in. Maybe talk about these MoDOT signs.
Good.
She made a wicked Facebook post, got some great traction, and had to do, apparently, with MoDOT telling her, according to her Facebook post, that MoDOT wasn't going to put population numbers on city signs anymore.
And they weren't going to let you put up your, state championship adders either. And she said, hey, this is like a source of community pride, which I do think people want to know that Ashland is bigger than Centralia.
Right.
Oh, brother. Here we go again.
How many state championship signs would they have to put up for Ashland, though?
Oh, I don't know. We haven't had football for very long, I guess, apparently. So baseball is our thing.
Yeah. Are there any state championship signs when you go into Centralia?
Yeah, I know for sure there was I think 2003 football state championship. Wow. And then softball was a three-peat a few years ago in state championships. So we've got a few.
Didn't you play softball too?
Never for the Centralia schools. I played when I was little.
874-9390. So Cherie Tolson-Reich, we were stalking your Facebook page, and you've got
That's okay. You and everybody else, it has gone viral nationwide, but statewide. Everybody's sharing my post.
So I want to make sure I have this right. And I'm going off of your post. New sign. So when you go into a sign, you've got the green MoDOT sign. Welcome to the city of Hallsville, population 1,500, what have you. But they're not doing that anymore. So you called MoDOT to ask about this. What did MoDOT tell you?
Well, just a little backstory. I had heard late last fall that they were not going to do the state championship signs anymore, which, just to give you a background, when a city has a state championship, you sign a contract between MoDOT, the city, and the school, which my signature is on those contracts for Hallsville. The city pays for the signs, the school reimburses, and MoDOT installs. But the caveat is they're to stay up for 10 years or when they fall down. And so that's why you'll see some that are like
I'm sorry, Sheree. I love that. I love the warranty. Well, 10 years or until it falls. And God. So, okay, so that's the deal. 10 years until it falls down or the time to do a new one. So it's time to do a new one. We did the census.
On the population, I'm thinking, okay, the census was late in 2020. We got the numbers late. Fine. And then I called MoDOT, and I said, when are we going to get the new population numbers up? Boone County has grown. Actually, Missouri as a whole did grow a little bit, a little over 6 million. And they said, new federal regulations that went into effect August 1st, no more population numbers because it distracts drivers. And people are livid.
Okay, and I have been fact-checked by Chris Bell, and I apologize for all my soccer fans out there, but Ashland won the state boys championship in 2021, so we would have...
Oh, wow, a recent one.
Yeah, so we would have
But it's probably not going to go up, so who's going to know?
Well, we will. So, Representative, I think the answer is we just fundraise privately and put up a big sign. I mean, I would appreciate it if MoDOT would just keep their same policy, but we could just put up a giant sign... close to MoDOT sign, right? That says,
welcome. Off right away, state right away. You can put up whatever you want on private property. It's free speech.
And MoDOT, by the way, this 2.5 cent gas tax per gallon, man, that's just killing me. And I know State Rep Sarah Walsh, who is running for Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler's seat, she's actually going to join us tomorrow. She's doing a rally tomorrow. And I'm about fed up with this thing, man. 2 times in a row I've been to the gas station. They're out of receipts. So I can't say, and I should bring in my package of receipts.
Picture of the pump when they don't give you a receipt.
Yeah. So Sarah Walsh
here's the deal. Anybody want to try to get that refund back? You have an Excel spreadsheet. I'd be glad to email to anybody, but the rally is Wednesday at 3, not Tuesday.
All right. Sarah Walsh will be on tomorrow to talk about that rally coming up on Wednesday. Hey, since you called, we have some other questions.
Yeah, so you and I were recently hanging out, and you told me, hey, I'm going to be your state rep pretty soon. So, we were talking this morning about a new candidate in the 50th, and I still think, I hear 50th, and I still think me. But can you talk about what your new district will look like?
Yeah, so with the population growth in Boone County, we will have 5 state reps fully within the county lines. Before we had 5 reps that bled over into adjoining counties. So mine will go all the way from Centralia, Hallsville, the airport, down to Ashland, Hartsburg, wrap around to Easley, McBain, and Pierpont. I follow the Columbia City limit edge. And so my number's 44, so I will be your state rep come January 1. Jim Musgraves just announced over the weekend in Sarah's old district number 50, which has shifted up to kind of southern Boone a little bit. Southern Columbia with a little bit of Boone County.
All right. As a matter of fact, James Musgraves, he is going to be joining us coming up 8:10 this morning here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. So back to the MoDOT signs. Are you going to do anything? Are you trying to get a rally or something going? What are you going to do?
Yeah, so I got a lot of things going through my brain. First, I'm meeting with my Republican colleagues this afternoon. Now, granted, this is a federal regulation coming down to all 50 states because we receive so much in federal tax dollars. We are a gaining state. We to the capital, or to D.C., and so there may be, not much we can do about it. This was not voted on. This is a promulgated rule by Mayor Pete's Transportation Department. But who's to say somebody anonymously may just go slap some new population numbers on signs? What we're doing in Hallsville, we're looking to have our Hallsville Chamber of Commerce. We have a welcome to Hallsville sign. And we may just put population number on our own sign, which is off right away.
All right. right. State Rep Cherie Tolson-Rice calling into the show regarding apparently this decision by MoDOT saying, yeah, we're not going to put population numbers up on these entryway signs anymore when you pull in to towns. While you're here, is there anything else that you would like to add? Anything we can do to help some of your constituents here in Mid-Moat?
Well, I am so mad at MoDOT. I went around this weekend picking up illegal signs, bags of trash, potholes.
Yep.
I've got a laundry list for them. They are not on my happy list right now.
Uh-oh, we're going to sick Cherie Tolson-Rice on you. Well, I'll tell you, so Friday we did, every Friday morning at 8:35 on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle, we do Winners of the Week, and we actually nominated MoDOT for one of our Winners of the Week for being out there working on the potholes. Already.
Well, there's a lot more work to be done.
Yeah.
They're not done yet.
Yeah, the trash, by the way, Cherie Tolson-Rice, thank you so much for checking in. All right, Bye-bye. We appreciate that. There is, I agree. I get frustrated by the litter on the side of the roads.
Here we go.
Am I getting cranky again? All right, well, let's do this. Sorry. I do. But there's things that you can, go and pick up the trash. But she's right. Well, here's the thing with Columbia. I do. I love Columbia. I don't like the politics and all that stuff. But I do. I love Columbia. I really do. And I want it to do well. And I want all these small local business owners to do well. And I get frustrated when you pull into our town, like you're coming down 70 from St. Louis, and you get to Columbia, and it's kind of like, yeah. I was telling somebody the other day, prior to moving to Columbia 7 years ago, I'd been through Columbia, I think 6 or 8 times in my life, just passing through. And this guy, he said, well, what was your impression of Columbia? I said, Columbia left me impressionless. Now, I never got off the interstate, but I drove by the 70-63 interchange, and I saw all the trash and the bland, just the blandness, and you drive by, and there's just nothing spectacular. But there are things that can be done. As a matter of fact, I'm working on something. I don't know if it's ever actually going to happen or not, but Hannah, I'm making progress.
What?
I know.
Who's working with you on this project? Are they pulling all their weight?
Right now, it's just me.
Wow.
I know. And like every time the next thing happens, I'm like, whoa. Because I think it would be a huge thing it'd be a cool thing for mid-Missouri. But every time like the next thing happens, I'm like, oh, wow. All right, remember, so what's hot with Hannah? I think this is really cool today. And to get me off, I'm not trying to be cranky today. I just don't feel good, dang it.
Aw.
Really cool what's hot with Hannah today.
Well, maybe you could actually join in to what we talked about this morning.
Well, what's the phone number? Can't I just call him?
Well, hang on. Let me pull it up here.
All
Basically, a kindergarten class in the state of California has started a little helpline. So if you're having a bad day or maybe you need some encouragement, you can call this helpline and get advice from kindergartners. You ready for that phone number?
Yes.
707-998-8410.
And it's recorded. It's public. I can call it on air, can't I?
Yeah, that's what I thought you were going to do.
Can I?
Yeah.
Or should I come back and do it?
Well, I guess you should come back because you're late.
Well, let's do it now then. So, and it gives... Oh, I'm not fast enough with the fingers. Okay, 1-707-998. You call this phone number, and apparently there's a pocket full of sunshine on the other end for people like me that are cranky today, and I'm not...
Child is not in service. Please check the number and try your call again.
Well...
It sounded like you hit a lot of extra numbers as you were dialing.
He did say earlier he's having trouble seeing.
I can't see. My sinuses are...
Well, maybe the readers you got on top of your head, you should put on your eyeballs.
That's not good if I'm calling and I'm bummed out and it says, well, sorry, the number's changed.
I wasn't counting how many numbers you hit, but it sounded like a lot of extra numbers.
So in line, what's hot with Hannah? There was I think right now the simplicity of kids. Kids keep things so simple, and it's beautiful sometimes. And I have another one of those stories that we'll highlight. All these adults came in. It was a church clock in England. And some folks came in and said, man, this clock hasn't worked in years. It's going to cost X amount of dollars. And this kid comes in. His solution, incredibly simple. And you go, oh, yeah, the brilliance of kids sometimes. That's coming up at 7.
This is the show people are talking about. Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert. 93.9 The Eagle.
It's a class action lawsuit against all machines and that they're defective devices, okay? I have lawyers worked on this for 5 months. We're getting county commissioners, county clerks. They're all the plaintiffs, and we've already got about 300 on board. And we're going to get rid of these machines once and for all for any election in history.
It's Mike Lindell, the MyPillow guy. By the way, I made a lot of money off of him for a few years. Got to meet him when Trump came to Columbia back in 2018 when he was campaigning for Holly. I hope his suit is successful. Says he's got all these folks, these county commissioners, and they're going after the companies that make these machines that he says just don't work properly. I hope he succeeds. So Wake Up Columbia. I'm Branden Rathert. Stephanie Bell, Hannah, the producer here. All right, so we got this number thing straight. Now, I want to highlight the story of this kid real quick. Kids keep things so simple sometimes. Grimsby in Lincolnshire, England, 14th century church clock hadn't worked for a couple years, so they get the experts in, and they say, well, we can fix it, but it's going to be about $50,000 to $70,000 to do the job. Well, it's an old 14th century church. It's worth us paying the money. Well, this 15-year-old kid named Jay, I'll take a look at it. So he goes up to this clock, takes a 47-year-old cheesemaker with him.
What?
Yeah. So this 15-year-old kid and a 47-year-old cheesemaker go up, and apparently they just cleaned out the gummed-up bearings and gave it some couple of hits of WD-40, and it was fine. Cost like however much a can of WD-40 costs, that's how much it cost instead of the $50,000 to $70,000, because there you had a kid, a 15-year-old kid, keeping it simple. Kids and kindergartners. Hannah's got something really cool. What's up with Hannah? You call this number and you can get, so what are we doing here? You call and it's kids laughing and stuff?
Yeah, so it gives you a menu, press 1 if you're mad or frustrated, press 2 if you need encouragement, so on and so forth.
So, and I can't dial the numbers because I'm blind anyway, and I can't see, and my eyeballs hurt because God knows why. I'm probably dying. That's the best I can figure right now, Stephanie. I got onto WebMD, and I said my head hurts and my eyes feel like they're bulging out of my head, and it said I got some kind of...
Welcome to Pep Talk, a public art project by Westside School. Bienvenidos a Pep Talk, un proyecto creado por los estudiantes de Westside School.
Para un mensaje feliz, presiona 5.
Please listen to the following options for encouraging messages. If you're feeling mad, frustrated, or nervous, press 1. When you're feeling mad, you should take 3 deep breaths and think of things that make you happy. The thing that makes me happy is when, and I think of happy things will happen in the future, like going to a friend's house or a cousin's house. Bye.
Bye. Aww.
Oh, that is so sweet.
Man, I love that.
It's even cuter that it's not perfect.
Yeah.
You have to think about it.
Oh, my gosh. Listen, if you're bummed out, you can call that phone number, or you can call me. Seriously, you need help with something, you can call me off air. I'll chat with you. I've done that before. Mm-hmm. Seriously, you don't have to call that. You don't have to call 707-998-8410. You call our number. James Musgraves running for the 50th
punish Russia more. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
If they don't want to respect civilized rules, they shouldn't get goods and services from civilization.
That's Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky calling for a boycott of Russian oil, something the U.S. is considering. The price of oil spiked to $130 a barrel earlier. Now it's $118 as gas surges. AAA's national average for regular $4.06 a gallon. That's up 45 cents since Tuesday.
Meanwhile, Russian forces prepare to take Ukraine's capital city. Their jets are flying sorties ever more often. Their tanks are moving ever closer. The shelling continuing further into the center.
Fox's Benjamin Halls in Kyiv says talks resume next hour after a Russian ceasefire proposal for some areas.
Some people mocking the Russian offer now to offer humanitarian corridors from Ukraine straight to Belarus and Russia. The last two humanitarian corridors they've tried to set up from the city of Mariupol, well, the Red Cross says that those had been mined by the Russians and that the buses trying to go in and out had actually been shelled.
The UN now says 1.7 million Ukrainians have fled the country. Many are now in Poland. Fox's Simon Owens live at a village on the border.
And Dave, many people here say they are exhausted. Some have been travelling 4 or 5 days before crossing the border. And this is just a temporary stop. Irina is with 2 friends, and between them they have 4 young children. They're trying to get to Finland.
Well, we must go in a capital, Poland, in Warsaw, and after that we don't know, but we're asking. All people helping.
She says they've been crying a lot, thinking of relatives who stayed behind, including men ordered to remain and fight. Dave?
Simon, COVID may be on the decline here in the U.S. with cases falling 7 weeks in a row and deaths down 4 straight weeks. But globally, we just today hit 6 million deaths total in the Johns Hopkins tally almost 2 years into the pandemic. America's listening to Fox News.
With each mortgage-free home, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. These heroes who have risked their lives for our country and our communities need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.
Is your current home loan the right fit for you? Near historic low rates may be a great reason to refinance, but when matched with an expertly chosen loan from Loan Depot, you could be saving money and paying more towards the bottom line. Call a Loan Depot loan officer and ask about our 27-year Smart Term loan or our 10-year ARM loan. Get a great rate matched with a great loan by calling 866-888-LOAN or visit LoanDepot.com. At Loan Depot, home means everything. Rates are subject to change. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing opportunity. NMLS number 174457. Licensed in all 50 states.
.93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners, 8:03. Robinson saves you time. Currently 30 degrees. Expect cloudy skies with a high of 36 today. Good morning, I'm Andy Humphrey. Police say a third teenager has been detained by Illinois authorities for his alleged involvement in a February homicide in Northeast Columbia. The 16-year-old boy is charged as a juvenile and is in custody in Peoria. 15-year-old Aubrey Doxley was shot to death on February 19th. Her mother says Aubrey was lying in bed at home when shots came through the window and killed her. Officers have already detained 2 other 16-year-old suspects in the case. One person is hospitalized and another is arrested after a shooting in a South Columbia neighborhood. ABC 17 reports it happened on Poplar Hill Drive near Old Plank Road Saturday afternoon. Witnesses say a man went to grab his dog from his front yard. Then someone from across the street shot at the man and hit him in the back. Police say the victim was taken to the hospital and is stable. They also arrested 1 person after the shooting. The brother of a prominent mid-Missouri snake breeder was one of several people featured in an NBC Dateline episode last Friday. Sam Rennick says he was frustrated that Lindley Rennick received only a 16-year prison sentence for murdering his brother. Ben Rennick was shot to death in his Montgomery County snake facility in 2017. Lindley Rennick from Columbia continues to maintain her innocence. She testified that Michael Humphrey of Jefferson City shot and killed her husband. Humphrey was a key prosecution witness at Lindley Rennick's December trial. A Jefferson City man draws an 8-year prison term for a violent robbery.
Tariq Shelton pleads guilty to attempted first-degree robbery. That after prosecutors reduced the charge from first-degree robbery. He was arrested in January of 2020. After being accused of being one of 4 people who robbed a person in the 100 block of Ventura in Jefferson City. John Marsh, 93.9, The Eagle.
A plan to bring back school resource officers to Columbia's 3 public high schools will be on the agenda for the city council tonight. Members will vote whether to approve a plan that would assign 4 officers to the schools. The district hasn't had school resource officers since 2020 when its contract with the city expired due to financial reasons. The city council will also discuss new ward boundaries tonight. Transparency is a top priority for Missouri's new acting health director, who is from Fulton. Paula Nicholson has worked for the State Department of Health and Senior Services for more than 22 years.
I will personally attest to you that we give you the very best information we have at any given time. It may change, but we're going to continue to give the very best information we can at any time, and we're going to continue to communicate openly.
Nicholson was appointed last week by Governor Parson, who describes her as a reliable, calming, and realistic leader. Former Health Director Donald Karoff resigned last month after the Senate refused to confirm him. Nicholson does not have to be confirmed by the Missouri Senate as acting director, I should say. 93.9 The Eagle News Time with the Callaway Bank, brought to you by a dedicated customer care team that you can call or text 7 days a week. The Callaway Bank is with you for the moments that matter. It's 8:06. Mizzou men's basketball finished the regular season with a win Saturday. The Tigers beat out Georgia 79-69 at Mizzou Arena thanks to 21 points from Kobe Brown. Mizzou's lone senior Javon Pickett scored 12 points in what was likely his final home game for the Tigers. They finished the regular season at 11-20. Mizzou now heads to Tampa for the SEC tournament. They will face Ole Miss on Wednesday at 5 o'clock. It was a successful weekend of wrestling for Tiger style as Mizzou earned first place at the Big 12 Championships in Tulsa. Freshman Keegan O'Toole won the individual championship at 165 pounds, and 9 other Tigers placed on the podium in their divisions. This is Mizzou's 11th straight conference title in wrestling and their first Big 12 championship since their last year in the conference in 2012. The NCAA championships begin next Thursday in Detroit. Mizzou baseball opened up Taylor Stadium for the season by sweeping Tarleton State in a 3-game set this weekend. The Tigers improved to 9-1. 8th-ranked Mizzou softball grabbed 4 run-rule wins in its first home games against St. Thomas and Bradley. Sophomore Lauren Krings threw a 6-inning perfect game in the Tigers' lone contest yesterday. Mizzou is now 16-4. Sports with Witt Print Shop. It's time to get with it, where your printed products are so much more than ink and paper. It's 8:07.
Okay, we'll be with you here in just a few minutes, and thanks for coming on. I'm sorry to have bothered you so early this morning. I reached out via your Facebook page last night, but yeah. Okay, I'll put you back on hold.
Weather with Steve's Pest Control. With warmer weather, pests become very active. In Missouri, there are 2 types of structures, ones that already have pests and ones that will. Steve's 5-star service and pest prevention will protect you 24/7. Go to Steve's Pest Control for peace of mind. Right now, 30 degrees. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Visit MidmoHires.com to find a job or post your job opening today. And we're not looking at any traffic wrecks at the moment. Nothing on our map indicates that there is anything unusual. We haven't gotten any reports of wrecks either from Joint Communications or any other authorities. Let us know if you see wrecks, though, because you're an authority to us. 874-9390 with a call or a text. You can tell us about traffic in your area. Again, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Andy Humphrey, 93.9 The Eagle.
One thing that surprised me about the President's State of the Union was the lack of connecting the fight for democracy and freedom abroad with the fight for democracy at home. Today's Bloody Sunday.
Right.
Okay. On Selma, Vice President's there, going to march across the bridge. The second time without John Lewis. Feels odd not to have John Lewis there leading this.
Chuck Todd, MSNBC, yesterday, likening, he goes on to liken what's happening in Ukraine. Ukraine being invited by this monstrous, powerful Russian military. It's like voting rights. And Republicans are the Russians. And Ukrainians are the people that don't have voting rights. Everybody has voting rights. And it's funny because these are talking points all weekend long, whether it was Chuck Todd on MSNBC, whether it was people like U.S. Representative Pramila Jayapal or the people from Black Lives Matter, all on the airwaves, all this weekend. Well, see what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. See, it's like what's happening with the battle for voting rights in America. It's just completely, it's way off base. But want to move forward to politics closer to home here. We have a candidate in the 50th House race, 50th Missouri House of Representatives. Now, there's a lot going on here, so I'm going to let Stephanie break it down for us. So it's a seat currently held by State Rep Sarah Walsh. But the 50th district has moved. It's shifted.
Yes. So my understanding is Representative Reich now has all of basically Hartsburg and Ashland, and the 50th is shifted. So before, where Representative Walsh covered me in Ashland, that district has shifted north up closer to Columbia.
So we have a candidate. The guy's name is James Musgraves, retired U.S. Navy commander. James Musgraves announcing his candidacy for state representative for House District 50. It's a newly drawn district. Stephanie was just telling us. So these are things. So you see, when we're talking about drawing maps, these are for the state districts. You see how that affects us. So Stephanie Bell's representative, well, it was going to change anyway, but the district is different now. So that's how these things are affecting us. Musgraves, Missouri native, enlisted in the Navy back in 1986. He was awarded an NJROTC scholarship. He used that to earn a BA in political science from the University of Missouri. After graduation, he was commissioned as an officer in the United States Navy and attended flight training, earning his Wings of Gold as a naval aviator in 1996. He retired from the Navy as a commander in March of 2019. And apparently with the military experience, he was in Pensacola, Florida. And apparently our paths could have crossed over the years while you were in Pensacola, Florida. I know, obviously, Naval Air Station, Pensacola, home of the Blue Angels, based there. And you were there. Now you're back in Missouri. Why is it that you are deciding to run, Mr. Musgraves?
Well, sir, good morning. Thanks for having me on. Deciding to run because I've been retired for 3 years now and not very pleased with what's going on. And there's two choices you have. You can sit on the bench and watch it happen, or you can get off and participate. So I opted to get off the couch and participate. And so that's where we're going from.
So what is it that's bothering you about what's going on specifically?
Well, I think, and it's becoming more and more evident as every hour ticks off every day. I think there's a vacuum, a leadership vacuum in D.C. And we're feeling the effects of that right here in Columbia, Boone County, Missouri. And I think that problem is that impact is going to be devastating at some point, and it all ties to the inflation, the gas, things of that nature. And I think that I can continue my service to, state and country if I get down to Jeff City and can play a role in trying to figure out what we as Missourians can do to lessen the damaging effects of decisions or lack of decisions that are coming out of Washington, D.C.
Retired Navy Commander James Musgraves announcing his candidacy to replace State Representative Sarah Walsh in the newly redrawn House District 50. So Sarah Walsh used to be basically Ashland, and you have that area, and that's just kind of the whole district has moved a little bit. I want to ask you this, Mr. Musgraves. What were those conversations like with the family when you said, hey, I think I want to do this? How did I think most of your kids grown and out of the house, but a wife, longtime wife. How did those conversations go? And you say, I want to get involved in the sausage making.
Well, I'll tell you what, I phrased it a little bit differently than that, but my wife's been very supportive. I mean, she's been a military wife for well over 30 years, so she knows how to handle things like that. And any decision that I make to embark on an adventure in politics, she's supportive. And I probably wouldn't have done it had she not been supportive of that conversation we had.
All right. By the way, and so you have declared as a Republican. I'm guessing all of your viewpoints fall in line with conservatives. Some interesting poll numbers I just saw recently, and this was in relation or in response to Jack Danforth a couple of weeks ago saying Republican Party should consider an independent candidate. I think a lot of Republicans. I'm like, hey, that's fun. I like the idea of an independent. I don't care what part. And that's the thing. You can't go as an independent and I'm going to rep this party. But there was a question, there was a poll, and it asked, in considering voting for somebody other than the Republican or Democratic nominee, would you do this when it comes to independents? And 54% of the folks said no. I would not vote for an independent. I'm going to vote along party lines. Are there any things that you believe? Because we know, listen, conservatives, we know pretty much, we check this box, check this box. Anything you believe in or anything you think that sometimes might be different? Like right now, my friends at the Columbia Pachyderms are kicking my butt because I think the 7 map would be phenomenal. Realistically, it's not doable, and people are mad at me because I say that publicly, and I know it's not popular, but I say it anyway because I believe that. Do you have any statements like that might unsettle some of us this morning?
With regards to an independent candidate, I think that's all going to depend on who the candidate is and how he or she, what their viewpoints are on as a whole, In terms of do I have any views on various subjects that might go sideways with some conservative Republicans? Not that I'm aware of. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just saying I haven't been asked about a specific issue where I might get sideways.
Have you been talking to the reps now, either Representative Reich or Representative Walsh, and maybe picking up kind of where on some of the things they left off? I know a big issue for Representative Walsh this year is the repeal of the gas tax. If, for instance, that doesn't get done, is that something you might be interested in kind of picking up where she left off?
Yeah, I have actually talked more to Cherie Reich than I have Sarah. Sarah's been kind of busy, but I did reach out to her, and she offered to have conversations at whenever need be. I would pick up where Sarah's at with regards to the repeal of the gas tax. And the reason for that is you don't raise taxes when inflation is 7.5% and climbing, when it costs almost $400 a month for the average Missourian, more per month for the average Missourian just to live like they did 2 years ago. It's a bad time to start raising taxes. Plus, it's somewhat, on gasoline specifically, it's somewhat regressive also if you think about it, because the Fed's talking about raising rates anywhere from 2 to 5 times. Well, gas prices are through the roof. People are putting them on their credit card. That federal interest rate increase, then what that does, that increases the variable rate on their credit card. So every average citizen, their debt's increasing just so they can go to work. And then you throw in more taxes on top of the gasoline increase. It just doesn't make any sense. So I would support exactly what Sarah's doing with regards to the gas tax.
All right, James Musgrave's running for State Representative District 50.
And we've got the map up right now. We should kind of go over that. So it does look like you've got a little bit west of 63, or a lot west of 63, a little bit east. It looks like maybe the north is basically at Grindstone or whatever you want to call that. And you go all the way over west to about Thornbrook and up north to about Green Meadows. So for folks who are wondering, am I in the 50th? You can grab those maps off the Secretary of State's website. But anything else you want to say about what your district would cover?
With regards to what? I mean, I was listening to y'all earlier, and I think the public education schools, y'all were talking about schools in the 4-day work week or 4-day school week. And I think, education, I think, is critically important. And the children of today are the leaders of tomorrow. And we need to look at it from that perspective. If we back up to the 4-day school week, them kids are going to love that. Mom and dad, not so much. If we consider what happened when Columbia essentially shut down, or the country shut down for COVID, the biggest thing was for the people that could actually still go to work is what do they do with their kids? For the single parents of households with both parents, where do the kids go? the parents need to have a huge say in what goes on with the 4-day school week. That's something I thought of when I heard y'all talking about this morning.
All right, and hopefully that's something that these school boards they're considering at meetings. Our guest, James Musgraves, retired Navy commander, running for the Missouri House of Representatives District 50 seat currently held by Sarah Walsh, who, of course, is running for the 4th Congressional District seat currently held by Vicki Hartzler. Mr. Musgraves, we appreciate you joining us on the show, and I'm sure we'll be chatting again here in the coming months.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the time.
All right. Oh, by the way, any websites, any place you want to direct people, Facebook or anything, if they want to go and support your campaign?
Yeah, we got James Musgraves for Mo is on Facebook, and we'll be putting up a fundraising link on that later today or tomorrow.
All right. Thank you so much, and thank you for your service to our country. James Musgraves, running for Sarah Walsh's seat. So think about everything that's happening right now. So you've got these state House districts. Those are shifting, and you've got people like Sarah Walsh who's moving on to the next thing. You've got John Martin who is running for Chuck Basie, Representative Chuck Basie's seat. You've got state districts moving. We still aren't sure. Right now we're still locked into our congressional districts unless the Senate surprised us over the past couple of no, that didn't happen. So there is a lot going on in politics, and there's some things happening at tonight's city council meeting. I want to give you the heads up on that coming up at 7:35. Also, some important stuff coming up. 8:26 Morning Bell with Stephanie Bell. Business news with that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. What's coming up?
Did you know there was an award show tonight?
Yes, I do, because I got some friends from landscaping, hardscaping, lawn maintenance, yard cleanup. Or here's the thing right now. I mean, typically when somebody has a stump in their yard, it's usually you can tell like it's been there for a while. How come you've never gotten rid of the stump? Well, I just haven't. Make this the year. Call Salter Lawn Service. That's one of the things they do. As a matter of fact, you might call Salter Lawn Service for a yard cleanup or tree removal, what have you. And while they're saying, hey, can you grind this stump, get it out of here? My grandkids keep tripping over it every time they're over here. They can do that for you, and that's kind of what they do a lot of times, by the way, when they're going and they're beautifying somebody's property by adding some phenomenal landscaping. People say, hey, well, while you're here, can you clean this up? Can you do that? A lot of times the folks at Salter Lawn Service, they say yes, because Salter, one call, does it all.
You're listening to Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert on 93.9 The Eagle.
Hey, by the way, one of the highest rated TV shows on Fox right now, it's Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity. You know who's beating Sean Hannity besides Tucker Carlson? Jesse Waters. His show. And the thing I like about that, because I don't know how old Sean Hannity is, but Tucker Carlson, I think, is almost as old as I am. But here's why I like the fact that Jesse Waters is doing well, because he's more like your age. You know, he's 40-something. So he's close. You know, he's more this younger generation. Not that you're in your 40s yet, but you know what I'm trying to say. Let me do this. I'll move forward. So I just quit putting my foot in my mouth. Right now, it's 8:27, time for the Morning Bell business news with that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you.
So tonight is the ACMs, the Academy of Country Music Awards, and we have some friends there.
Yeah, Scotty Cox, who's just a legendary personality in this market. He's been for like 20-some-odd years. And then Elizabeth, they're nominated for an award. How cool is that? So they're there for this thing that's on national TV. I don't know, a lot of times they cut out those nominations, but hopefully, Scotty and Liz, hopefully they'll win.
Well, in fact check, it's actually like not on national TV. I guess CBS declined to renew the contract because we've been talking about how award shows have been tanking. And so interestingly enough, it's only streaming only with Amazon Prime. And so I guess maybe if you have Prime, you can tune in. And so I'm trying to think, like, does that make me more inclined to watch it or less inclined? And then what are the numbers going to be? Are they going to be better than with CBS? I will say they've done a really good job promoting it, and I'm a huge fan of country music, so a lot of my favorite artists are there. So they were doing warm-ups and practices yesterday, and I was like, oh, I didn't know they were going to be there. And so I actually thought maybe I'll tune in because I'd love to see some performances of especially some of this new music that I haven't seen before.
So maybe the good news is if it is streaming only, maybe there's a better chance that we would see Scotty and Liz on there picking up their award. That would be pretty cool. And it's on Amazon Prime.
That's what it says.
One of the places that we can stream that tonight. You can support our good friends at our country station, Clear 99. Coming up tonight, City Council meeting. There's a couple of interesting topics. One of them is going to be so everybody's talking about, and I've had this conversation recently with somebody, this ARPA money that's coming to the city of Columbia. And like, well, what should we use it for? What should we use it for? And somebody said, well, it doesn't matter. It's a grant. It's free money. No, it's not free money. See, you've paid for this. We're paying for this. We are, in effect, giving this money by virtue of going to the federal government. We are giving it to the city of Columbia. City of Columbia wants to take your money. Some folks on the city council, what is it they want to spend that money on? We're going to be looking into that. Coming up at 8:35 here on 93.9 The Eagle. Also, SRO officers in local schools. We know the importance of schools. Our candidate for the 50th District House seat in the State House, he said education is important. So we're going to look into that. Coming up at 8:35.
In Missouri, there are two types of structures, ones that already have pests and ones that will. Steve's 5-star service and pest prevention will protect you 24/7. Go to Steve's Pest Control for peace of mind.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. Russia is offering evacuation routes out of Ukraine called unacceptable by Ukraine's leadership because they mostly lead to Russia or its ally Belarus. The United Nations reports 1.7 million refugees have made their way out of Ukraine, many to Poland. Doreena's at a refugee camp there and tells Fox.
Here I'm alone, and like every time I worry about my family because there now is no connection, no internet, so you can't call, you can't know anything.
The Russian invasion is now in its 12th day. The coronavirus pandemic reaches another milestone.
Worldwide, more than 6 million deaths are now attributed to the COVID-19 pandemic. That number is computed by Johns Hopkins University. Some parts of Asia and Europe are still reporting significant spread of the virus, especially in some remote island populations that had, until now, been widely unaffected.
Fox's Evan Brown. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Andy Humphrey on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners, 8:31. Robinson saves you time. Currently 30 degrees. Good morning, I'm Andy Humphrey. It's now 3 16-year-old suspects detained after the death of a Columbia teenager. Columbia police say a third 16-year-old boy was caught in Peoria, Illinois last week. He's facing several felonies, including first-degree murder. The shooting happened on McKee Street in northeast Columbia last month and killed 15-year-old Aubrey Doxley. Her mother says Aubrey was in her bedroom when the bullets came through her window and killed her. 2 others were injured in the shooting. A man was allegedly shot by his across-the-street neighbor in South Columbia. ABC 17 reports police got to a home on Poplar Hill Drive near Old Plank Road at around 2 p.m. Saturday. The victim's wife says her husband went to their front yard to fetch their dog. That's when someone from across the street started shooting and hit the man in the back. Officers say they have one man in custody. The victim is stable in the hospital. A convicted murderer from Columbia is maintaining her innocence. Lindley Rennick was featured in an exclusive interview on NBC's Dateline on Friday night. She is serving a 16-year sentence for second-degree murder and armed criminal action. Prosecutors say she killed her husband Ben at his Montgomery County snake farm in 2017. Rennick says that Michael Humphrey of Jefferson City was the one that killed her husband. Humphrey was also convicted of second-degree murder in the case. A Jefferson City man will spend 8 years in prison after admitting to attempted armed robbery. A judge handed down the sentence to Tariq Shelton last week. He was one of 4 people accused of robbing someone on Ventura Avenue in January 2020. Investigators say the suspects held a gun and knife at the victim while they stole a gun, money, and electronics. Shelton was originally charged with first-degree robbery, but his charge was reduced to attempted robbery. Columbia City Council will vote tonight on bringing back school resource officers for Columbia Public Schools. The measure would assign 4 officers to Columbia's 3 public high schools. The district has gone without SROs after its contract with the city ran out in 2020 because of financial reasons. The City Council will also hear a first reading on new ward boundaries during its meeting at 7 o'clock tonight. Missouri's governor says his appointment of Fulton's Paula Nicholson as the state's new acting health director is aimed at bringing stability to the department. Nicholson replaces former director Donald Karoff. He resigned in February after the Senate declined to confirm him to the post.
We weren't expecting what happened in the Senate with Don when he went up there, but it did. So we had to react to that and really just try to figure out how do we make sure that health department is still stable.
That was Parson last week. Nicholson has worked for the Department of Health and Senior Services for more than 22 years, most recently as deputy director. She helped implement the department's box-in COVID-19 mitigation strategy. 93.9 The Eagle News with Hemi Construction, with homes and lots in the southwest neighborhoods of Chapel Hill Meadows, Nursery Heights, and Creek's Edge. And Timberbrook. It's 8:34. It was a happy senior day for Javon Pickett as Mizzou men's basketball topped Georgia Saturday, 79-69. The Lone Tiger senior scored 12 points in the win. Kobe Brown led with 21 points. Mizzou finishes the regular season at 11-20. They will start SEC tournament play on Wednesday in Tampa, Florida against Ole Miss. Tip-off is set for 5 p.m. Mizzou wrestling captured its 11th consecutive conference championship over the weekend. The Tigers scored 131 team points to win the Big 12 championships in Tulsa in the program's first year back in the conference since 2012. Freshman Keegan O'Toole won an individual conference championship in the 165-pound division. Tiger Style will head to the NCAA championships in Detroit starting next Thursday. Both Mizzou Diamond Sports Clubs had undefeated weekends at home. Mizzou baseball swept Tarleton State at Taylor Stadium, winning yesterday 11-6. They are 9-1 to start the season. Mizzou softball earned 4 run rule victories over St. Thomas and Bradley during the Mizzou Classic. It was capped off by a 6-inning perfect game from sophomore pitcher Lauren Krings yesterday. The 8th-ranked Tigers are now 16-4. Sports with Atterbury Auction and Realty Company, Mid-Missouri's most trusted online and live auction company specializing in real estate and personal property auctions. Visit AtterburySells.com. It's 8:35. Traffic check with MidMoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Visit MidMoHires.com to find a job or post your job opening today. Looking at roads that are pretty clear at the moment. Not seeing any reports of major wrecks in Columbia or Jefferson City or the rest of mid-Missouri. If you see one, let us know with a call or a text, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Andy Humphrey, 93.9 The Eagle.
have to be concerned about is the perceived presence of the SROs as a policing force rather than a partner in the students' education.
So one of the big things happening at the city council, and not in my mind, not the biggest thing, but one of the big things happening at city council meeting tonight, school resource officers. They've been out of the high schools for a while, and I guess there's talk of bringing them back. And I think they want to bring back, so we have 3 high schools. They want to bring back 4 officers to 3 high schools. And I'm wondering which high school gets 2 resource
Battle
officers.
High School will get 2,
okay.
and then Hickman and Rockbridge will both get 1.
All right. And see, here's, unfortunately, if I were stereotyping my guess, that's what I would have said. Battle High School would be getting 2 resource officers. That's
Based on like incidents that you've heard about?
Yeah. Not looking like an actual, crime maps, the city and county. I think you can find crime maps of what happens, but yeah, based on basically what I've heard. But I thought that was interesting. So that is Noelle Gilzow talking to our news partners at ABC 17. So one of the big things, and we heard this from somebody at the Columbia Public City Council meeting a couple of weeks ago. Well, if we bring in school resource officers, we got to make sure that the kids understand that they're there, in this mentality of community, not that we're there policing anything. And what strikes me as odd about this, just my opinion, that with these, by the way, this Noelle Gilzow, not only is she a teacher within the CPS school, she is president of the local teachers union. So again, I've been 1 for 1 so far in my assumptions and stereotypes. I'm trying to make it 2 for 2. I'm going to assume that this mindset, she has this mindset, this progressive mindset. All cops are bad and they're just out to get you, and that's what should be on the news, because we've seen that. We saw that a couple of years ago, and we see it from time to time. All cops are bad. They're all after people. I'm guessing she's one of the people that helped foment that whole idea that cops are out to get you. And now she's saying, well, we got to be careful that when these cops come into the schools that we don't, Well, you're the one who created that stuff. It's people like you that created that whole mindset. All cops are bad. All cops are out to get me. Again, I'm just assuming. 874-9390. Jim, welcome into the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Branden, what exactly do these school resource officers do? My wife was thinking about that, and they're talked about a lot, and I've never heard what their role in the school is.
And it's a great question. Here's what I understand, and some of this is based on my... So listen, I went to, back in 1984, we had a school resource officer in my school building in 1984, and I think back then that was unheard of, but my school building was inner city St. Louis. And not only in 1984 did we have, and we didn't call him a school resource officer, we called him the school cop. Now, he didn't go around and he wasn't checking for hall monitors and stuff like that. By the way, and we walked through a metal detector, 1984, 14-year-old freshman, Center for Management Law. Yeah, walking through this stuff. So as I understand it, they're just kind of there. They're a presence. They're a uniform in the building. That's my best understanding of it.
I remember, and I went to a huge high school. I went to JC. There were fights and cafeteria issues and other things, and I didn't go through a metal detector, but I think in elementary school we also had, I think the school resource officers helped with the DARE program, I remember. But then, particularly lunchtime cafeteria, lots of people, I remember seeing the officers around those times where there's just a lot of people in one location and perhaps an environment that might be a little bit more prone to a situation.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing that I don't understand. Jim, thank you for the phone call. Does that kind of, you've asked the question and kind of have made the point?
Yeah,
okay.
I guess,
yeah.
Are they, it seems to me that ideally they would have a positive role.
Yeah, and
they would interact with the students on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And you develop the relationships.
Exactly. It's just, and thank you so much. My sister, who's in law enforcement, has moved over to teaching. She got to where she is now. She was brought in as an SRO because she gets out, hung out with the kids. Matter of fact, she got featured in a local newspaper because she was caught on camera, caught not in the bad way, but playing basketball with some kids. Just pulled over a squad car, park where she worked, was playing basketball, stuff like that. Columbia Police Department, and I don't know where they are with their community policing type of stuff, which I would a little bit equate to a school resource officer. Community policing, they're out in the neighborhoods, they're getting to know people. School resource officer, they're in the schools, and I don't picture it like they're walking around in sunglasses with batons by their sides, arms folded, just kind of watch. I don't think that's what it is at all, but I haven't been into a high school in Columbia for a while, if ever. So I think that is the goal of them. But again, these people, this teacher, the teachers unions, and what we saw from the people speaking 2 weeks ago at the city council meeting in Columbia, like, oh, we get them in there and it scares the kids. Listen, I'm guessing, remember this young 15-year-old girl who got shot and killed? Now we have 3 juveniles, 3 school-age kids that have now been arrested. I'd be thinking, especially, again, I'm going to make some assumptions and stereotypes here. If the shooting was somehow gang-related, typically if there's a gang-related shooting, there's retribution. And I'm thinking, if I'm a school kid in a school where those types of things happen, absolutely I want a school resource officer there. 874-9390. Jim, welcome into the show. What is on your mind?
School resource officers, it's clear, if you ask any educator, any administrator, they will tell you that the school resource officers were placed in there to protect the teachers and the administrators from liability when they got involved in altercations. They don't have the power of arrest. Police officers do, and if they make an arrest or they use force, they're not going to be sued. The teachers are. So that's the number one reason for the school resource officers to be there. That's why the schools invited them in the first place. Make no mistake about it. Now, everything else you've been talking about is a good addition to what they do, but primarily they're there to keep the schools from being liable for interfering in fights, actually. Right. And, of course, they're there to arrest, because otherwise the administrators would have to call the police and just watch the fights go on, because they wouldn't be allowed to get involved. That's it. It's real simple.
Thank you, man. Appreciate the phone call. Did they have school resource officers at Centralia High School?
They did. We had one. I want to say it was more toward like the end of my high school career. Maybe it's a different environment in a small town, but everybody, for the most part, loved him, and he just kind of, I feel like it was good for relationships between students and police, but maybe not.
And that was kind of always my take in most of these schools. And there's some schools where, I want somebody in there with the badge for the safety of the kids and all that.
And we did have an incident my senior year where a student attempted to bring a gun to school, and I understand that our SRO played a key role in making sure that the gun never made it through the front doors.
And then there was a shooting last weekend in Olathe, Kansas, somewhere outside of Kansas City on that side of the border, and it was a school resource officer that protected those kids. Wow. Other things they're going to be talking about tonight at the city council meeting tonight. Columbia City Council meeting. Some kids are going to go and make a presentation. They want money to be spent on homeless facilities, or money should be helping homeless people. The other thing, City Councilwoman Pat Fowler has been talking about this for a while, and there's been other people working on it, but saying this ARPA money that we're getting, they're saying it should all go to people most adversely affected by the pandemic, because this ARPA money is coming from the federal government. You've paid it all already. Stephanie and Hannah and Andy has paid for this money. So let's take all this money that we've paid in taxes, and now let's give it to people that have been most disproportionately affected. So I'm wondering, people that were most impacted harshly by this pandemic, I want to say, so would that be like the city leaders that shut down these restaurants and limited businesses' ability to do business? Is that who you want to give it to? Apparently, the proposed resolution calls for 100% of federal ARPA funds to be allocated to those who have been impacted harshly by the pandemic, which would seem, if you've been affected by the pandemic and that's what the money is for, wouldn't that make sense? You give it to the people affected.
Mm-hmm.
How about the businesses? The people
Yeah,
that lost.
Fowler says this money should not be for those of us who did not experience difficult or different circumstances. But I remember you talking about your friend who owns a restaurant and he had to lay off a bunch of his employees. Now, if you just gave the money to his employees, that's not giving them their jobs back. But if you actually gave some money to those business owners, then maybe they could rebuild their business and then give these folks who did lose their jobs a hand up rather than just a handout. I think you're right on.
And that's with these businesses, and the guy you're referring to, at least one, he had the what was the big bar, the piano,
the Penguin.
The Penguin.
That's
piano
where my
bar.
bachelorette party was. It was who doesn't love a good piano bar? I was so sad to hear that it closed.
Yeah, and he had some other businesses, and this guy starts moving money around because he's trying to keep his employees and trying to keep the restaurants going. And he said, "Man, I went through a lot of my personal savings." He said, "Yeah, I wanted to keep the businesses open, but I was trying to keep these people working." So when these officials say the money who have been impacted most harshly by the pandemic, I assume, but I am probably wrong in my assumption, those are the folks that they're talking about. And I love, and part of this too, and now I'm getting a little nitpicky, but if they say, listen, people most affected by this pandemic, and if you weren't affected, you shouldn't get any of the money, even though you paid, right? Because we've all paid for this ARPA money.
Yeah, but who's the arbiter of who was affected?
Yeah. Exactly.
Fowler, does she get to decide?
And you can imagine when you start looking at the makeup of the city council, you can imagine what it is. So who is most affected? Well, let's not look at the people who actually lost jobs, businesses, income. Let's not look at the people who actually created these microeconomies within the city of Columbia, these people who had things going. Let's not look at those. Aren't the things we're looking at, and you can imagine the things that they are. Coming up, maybe. Rathert for Atterbury Auction and Realty Company. Atterbury Auction and Realty Company. I hope you check this out and think about, because I'm always going to be honest with you. When I think about auctions and stuff like that, it did not match up with what I actually found when I checked out Atterbury Auction and Realty Company. First thing I noticed, a lot of these auctions, they're online. And I'm like, well, then how does that work if it's online? Man, there's, for example, Country Club Condo. It's on the golf course, Country Club of Missouri. This is an online auction. It's happening April the 7th. So I got on the website, and I'm looking at all the great pictures. There's even aerial shots. There's a property information pack and auction terms and all this stuff. And it's like, oh, wow. These are things you can do from the privacy of your own home. And they constantly have new properties on there. As a matter of fact, there's another great property I want to turn you on to on Atterbury Auction and Realty Company. Log Home and Acreage in Missouri. That's happening April 26th. And this is an amazing piece of land from Atterbury Auction and Realty. You can check them out online, atterburyauction.com.
political opinion, we got your back. Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
It's a class action lawsuit against all machines and that they're defective devices, okay? I have lawyers worked on this for 5 months. We're getting county commissioners, county clerks. They're all the plaintiffs, and we've already got about 300 on board. And we're going to get rid of these machines once and for all for any election in history.
Mike Lindell, my pillow guy, longtime Trump supporter, rallying over the weekend. We're going after these machines. I hope that he is successful. Before we get into the Gary Nolan Show here on Wake Up Columbia with Stephanie Bell, Hannah the producer, Andy Humphrey's been in today for Brian Hauswirth. Appreciate Andy anytime he comes in and pinch hits. Always like hanging out with him. My name is Branden Rathert. Something we've been involved with here for a little bit. Cars4Heroes. This is a program that's been going on for almost 30 years. It's based here in Missouri. We got to know this guy, Car Santa, and over the years, we've been fortunate from time to time. We award a hero with some transportation. Somebody, and heroes a lot of times, yeah, it's going to be a veteran, but it could be somebody who's a school teacher, family of somebody who's deployed. And it's just a program where somebody, they've done a lot for us, and for one reason or another, they're in a spot where they need some transportation. And that's where we try to help. Car Santa is joining us. How goes our Cars4Heroes program?
Well, we're still out here bringing in the cars, and we're not running out of people to help. I tell you, something's happened where we have gotten probably 3 times as many applications as we normally have. We had a view online that I looked at the post, and 3.4 million people viewed it. So they're learning about Cars4Heroes, and of course, the first thing that happens is we get a lot more applications. And unfortunately, the way the economy is going right now, we're not getting as many donations. So we appreciate every time somebody sends in a donation form and tells us they got a car that we can fix up and put back on the streets.
Man, and I think that would be very advantageous to somebody right now. You think, well, I was going to trade in this vehicle, or I was going to try to sell it for a little bit. And it's, you know what? It's just really just not worth it right now. You can log on to Cars4Heroes.org. And you could donate a vehicle. Car Santa, sorry, I'm running short on time, but it is always great talking to you, and God bless you for what you do.
Thanks, Brandon, and thanks to all your crew.
All right, so seriously, we've had a lot of folks over the years here locally that have donated, an older car or something. You can do that. Cars4Heroes.org. Tomorrow, Sarah Walsh joins us on the show, trying to get rid of this 2.5 cent per gallon gas tax. Gary Nolan Show's next. See ya.
Bye.